Hello. Welcome to the stream. Finally, it's HD. Oh my gosh, that looks so beautiful. You guys do not understand how hard I've been trying to get the stream to be HD quality. But what's up? Welcome to the stream. I rebranded my room. You can't see anything right now, but I promise it looks so good and amazing. Like I got a rug. It looks amazing. So I want to thank you guys for, helping me throughout this. Because I would have not been able to do any of this without you guys. So thank you very much. I just want to say that. Alright guys, but we're going to do a twist. We're going to watch his story and her story. But then we're going to watch some Roblox stories. And obviously, I'm going to be completely honest here. There's another YouTuber who reacts to Roblox stories. So, his name is Ninja Gaming. Credits to him. It's just the fact that I'm kind of I'm losing shorts to watch. So I feel like I want to try out Roblox stories. But we'll keep watching her story and his story. Alright, but huge credits to his story. Ninja Gaming. And these guys, but yeah. Alright. Okay. Oh my god, we have so many shorts to watch. What do we even watch?
My friend and I were spinning our... I took my girlfriend to the animal shelter to adopt a cat, praying it
They're posting so many shorts.
Would save her life. Her therapist suggested a cat after months of watching her lie in our bed for entire days at a time.
A cat?
So we drove to the shelter and walked cage to cage until we found a scrawny gray cat pressed into the back corner, flinching at every hand that came near. A worker came up beside us. She's had a rough life, and I'm not sure she'll ever trust humans again. My chest went tight because that sounded like something a doctor might say about my girlfriend one day. My girlfriend nodded and pointed at the little gray cat. I want her. I squeezed her hand. Then she's ours. I spent the whole drive home praying this would go right.
We gotta hit 180k. Guys, we've been stuck at 170k for the past, I don't even know.
Could have my girlfriend back. For 2 weeks, the cat didn't make a sound and hid from us. Then one evening, I found my girlfriend cross-legged on the bedroom floor, the cat pawing at a shoelace, meowing every time she stopped moving it. She looked up, beaming. She wants to play. I crouched down next to them. Look at you, cat whisperer. She actually laughed, and for a second, I let myself believe we were turning a corner. The next day, her phone rang, and the cat bolted under the bed, refusing to come out for 2 full days, no matter what we tried. My girlfriend sat on the floor outside the bed frame every night, talking softly into the dark space underneath it. On the 3rd morning, I found her crying at the kitchen table. What if she never trusts me? What if I'm not enough? I pulled a chair up next to her.
Yo, what's up, Werner? You had a question, but you ignored me yesterday? What? What's up? What's up? What is his channel? His story, bro. Yo, it's good. Wings of 7?
You're enough. She just needs time. I didn't tell her I'd been asking myself that exact same question about her for a year. I came home the next afternoon to a completely silent house. Babe, no answer. My whole body went cold.
I just started the stream, so like and subscribe.
Because I thought she might have finally given up and taken her own life. I ran through the house bracing for what I might find. But in the bedroom, I found my girlfriend and the cat asleep on the bed together. Her arm draped over the cat, both of them smiling at whatever they were.
We already watched this. What am I doing? What am I doing?
My mom waved her finger and told me, no candy before dinner. So I screamed, I'm running away, and stormed outside.
Nah. Okay, that's a bit too far. You shouldn't really, say that.
But when I slammed the door, an old man I'd never seen walked over to me with a giant lollipop. Hey kid, do you want to go to my candy factory? He smiled and pointed at his white van covered in candy stickers. My face lit up and I instantly nodded, and we got in while I ate the lollipop. His hands shook on the wheel, and he grinned as we pulled out, and I remember thinking he was just so excited to show me his factory. He told me to grab whatever candy I wanted from the back, and
Bro, This kid is so dumb, bro. Like, what are we doing?
Tossed a chocolate bar from his pocket. We'll be there in 20. I bit in and smiled because mom never let me eat chocolate in the car, so this guy was officially cooler than her. Suddenly my phone buzzed, but I hit decline because I knew mom would make me come home before I saw the factory. 15 minutes in, I realized the streets looked different. Windows were boarded up, and I didn't see anybody on the sidewalks. I pressed my face to the glass looking for the factory. Where is it? I can't wait to see it. He looked at me and licked his lips. Just around the corner, buddy. Almost there. I bounced in my seat more excited than I've ever been. He started turning towards an old building, when out of nowhere he grabbed his chest. Not now. He made a sound like he couldn't breathe, and suddenly slumped over the wheel, hitting the controls. The van died, but he wouldn't move, and my stomach dropped in horror because I knew if he was dead, he couldn't take me to the candy factory.
What do you mean, candy factory? Not gonna lie, it's a good thing that he died, or else he would have been kidnapped. Guys, subscribe right now if you want to shout out. Alright.
Hey, wake up! I shook him, but he slid down further. I called 911. There's a man and he can't breathe. He's taking me to his candy factory, but I don't know where we are. Please come. Red and blue lights filled the street. Minutes later, paramedics loaded the man onto a stretcher while a cop pulled me out. I watched him look at the old man's face, then cuff his wrist to the stretcher rail. My jaw dropped. He's my friend, I cried. He was taking me to his candy factory. You can't arrest him. But the cop knelt in front of me.
I feel like, is this kid LARPing? I feel like this kid is just dumb or something. Shout out to Damien. Shout out to Jade Squad. Thank you for the $5, Just Matt.
Yo, what's good, bro? Remember the collab right now. I have stuff to do, so we could do it tomorrow.
Alright, yeah, sure, I'm down. Yeah, tomorrow. Thank you for the $5. W Just Matt. Thank you, bro.
Son, this man's been on a list for a long time. There was no candy factory, only an abandoned warehouse. I wiped my tears and narrowed my eyes at the cop. So he was gonna give me candy in the warehouse? My mom waved her finger and told... My mom waved. I was scrubbing windows 40 floors up when I saw a man choking a pregnant woman through the glass. My stomach dropped because 2 years out of prison, I'd promised myself I'd never look away from something like this again. I called 911, but her face was turning purple and she'd be dead before they...
Bro, she looks like a grape, bro.
Climbed 40 floors, so I pried the window open with my squeegee and threw myself inside. Get off her! The man spun around, and the woman crumpled to the floor, clutching her belly. He smirked and flicked open a knife, and I realized I'd brought a squeegee to a knife fight. I smacked my squeegee across his wrist, and the knife skidded under a desk. But he was twice my size, and he slammed me into a filing cabinet,
knocking... He's not twice his size, bro. He's like the same freaking height, bro.
The wind out of me. You should have...
Thank you for the husky! We haven't gotten a husky in like a long time. Thank you so much. W Henny in the chat with the husky. Thank you, Henny. W Henny, bro. Thank you for the husky. Join the council. Bro, why does everybody keep saying join the council in my chat? W, though. Thank you for the husky. W Henny. They were the floating heart. They were the tree.
Stuck to cleaning windows, idiot. He drove his fist into my ribs, and my vision blurred as the pregnant woman lay motionless across the room. He grabbed the knife and raised it over my chest. I held my breath thinking this was it, but then sirens screamed up from the...
I would just jump out the window. I wouldn't even care. Like, this isn't my business. I'm out. They were hiding.
Street. My 911 call. His head snapped to the window, and he wiped his prints off the knife, dropped it beside me, and climbed onto my cleaning rig. I reached for his leg, but it was too late. He laughed, his hand on the controls. Thanks for the ride. Have fun explaining this to the cops. He rode up out of sight, and the door burst open. The cops froze, staring at me. An ex-con, a bloody knife, and an unconscious pregnant...
Oh, nah. Now it looks like he did it, bro. They were the treat gift. Shout out to Eddie with the sub. Thanks, Eddie. Appreciate it, bro.
Woman behind me, hands shaking. I put them up, and the tears came. I did the one good thing in my life, and it was going to send me back to prison. The cops cuffed me and started dragging me toward the door. I'm the window cleaner. I called 911, the real guys on my rig, but they weren't listening. Then something thudded against the glass. The killer was back, white-knuckled on my rig, jabbing at controls he couldn't work. He'd panicked, shot up, and dropped right back to our floor. I pointed, and the pregnant woman's eyes fluttered open. She saw his face and screamed, "That's him! He attacked me!" The cops rushed to the window. Panicking, he slammed every button at once, but the rig dropped out from under him. Ah! Ah! Then a loud plop from below.
nah.
He laughed at me for washing windows, and my window rig killed him. Then the pregnant woman pulled me into her arms.
Wait, did he just die, bro?
Calling me a hero, and a tear fell because someone finally looked at me and didn't see a criminal. I looked the officer dead in the eye and lied. My name is Jason King. Jason had gone missing.
Jason King, bro. What kind of name is Jason King? Thank you for the W Pinata. W Henny with the W Pinata. Thank you, Henny. Thank you for the hiding gift, William. W Henny with the W Pinata. Thank you so much, Henny. W Henny in the chat with the $10 gift. W Henny, bro. Thank you, Henny, for the Pinata. W. Thank you for the star. W Henny.
3 years ago, and it was the first thing I could think of that would keep him from calling my abusive parents and telling them I had been caught shoplifting. Big mistake. They called Jason's family, and the second his mom saw me, she grabbed me and squeezed so hard I couldn't breathe. Jason, I knew you'd come home, baby. I hugged her back. Good to see you. Nobody asked a single question. They just took me home. I spent the whole ride there wondering how she could possibly mistake a stranger for her son. When we got to the house,
wait, he's not even the son? I didn't know that. He's just a stranger. Thank you for the tree gift. Thank you for the laughing disco. Unicorns. W unicorns with the laughing disco. Thank you, unicorns. W unicorns.
Dad patted me on the back. Welcome home, kid. I forced a smile. Thanks, Dad. He didn't even ask where I'd been or what had happened to me, which made my skin crawl. At dinner, he set his fork down and studied my face a second too long. You look thinner than I remember.
What is he doing? Thank you for the W. What? Thank you for the woof you. W Henny with the $20 gift. Thank you, Henny. W Henny, bro. Thank you, Henny, for the woof you gift. W Henny in the chat. My bad that I keep pausing. But W Henny with the woof you. Thank you, Henny. W Henny. Thank you, bro.
I kept my eyes on my plate. Guess wherever I was, food wasn't exactly easy to come by. The mom's hand froze around her glass. Let's not talk about that tonight. The dad nodded, but his eyes stayed on me for the rest of the meal. That night, I lay in Jason's bed with my eyes wide open when I heard her voice through the wall. He looks enough like him. As long as he answers to Jason, nobody ever has a reason to ask what happened to the first one. My whole body went cold. Then I heard footsteps. The door creaked open, and the mom walked in. Arms crossed. We know you're not him. I stared at her. Then why'd you take me in? She stepped closer. Because Jason was troubled too, and we didn't handle it right. Things got a little out of hand. She reached out and ruffled my hair. But if you stay and let us call you Jason for the rest of your life, nobody ever has to know we killed him. You get a new family.
I'm stupid. Did you guys hear the sound played 2 times? Hold on.
Family. We get our son back, and no one ever comes looking for what we did. My insides turned to jelly, but there was nothing I could do but nod. I looked the officer dead in the eye and lied. My little brother and I were admiring
You heard it
Grandpa's
2 times.
war
My
medals.
bad.
Burned the day he
I
got
didn't know.
paralyzed, saving his squad. When we spotted his old stairlift right underneath and smirked at each other, I immediately sat on it as my brother pressed some buttons until it jolted sideways with a loud crack and stopped dead. No, 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 no. Grandpa's stairlift was an ancient relic he'd had since the war, and we'd just destroyed it. My brother whispered, "He's in the bathroom. We need to fix this now." I hopped off and got to work, because if Grandpa found out, he'd kill us himself. I smashed the control buttons to reset it, but the whole thing screamed, system error, and lurched forward, nearly throwing me down the stairs. "This relic is possessed," my brother yelled. Then we heard it, the squeak of Grandpa's wheelchair rolling out of the bathroom. "He's coming," I hissed. My brother clutched his head. Grandpa killed 3 men with his bare hands in the war. We're so cooked, so we ripped the side panel off to get at the wires. But the second I touched them, they crumbled to dust in my fingers. "Why is everything falling apart?" Then Grandpa's voice boomed up the stairs. "What are you kids doing up there?" We froze. "Nothing, Grandpa." In a panic, I kicked the chair back toward its track to fix it, but the chair's rusted mount snapped clean off. We gasped as it broke loose and tumbled down the stairs, flying straight toward Grandpa. "Grandpa, watch out!" We heard a loud crash down below and covered our eyes. Sure, we'd just committed murder, but as we crept down the stairs crying, we found his wheelchair flipped over, smashed by the chair, and no Grandpa in sight. "We killed a war hero!" my brother wailed. But then I spotted movement across the room and froze. Grandpa was standing there with his arms crossed.
Bro has aura.
Aren't you paralyzed? He looked at us, then at the busted wheelchair, and sighed. "All right, you got me. I haven't been paralyzed since the war. I fake it for the disability checks." My brother's jaw dropped.
Disability
but the stairlift? Grandpa shrugged. "Never used it once. Installed it for show. Things older than your dad." My brother wiped his tears, stunned. "So, we're not in trouble?" Grandpa grinned. "Not if you keep your mouths shut." My little brother and I were admiring Grandpa's...
He was faking his disability? That's insane. Chat, would you do that for money? You don't even have to really do anything. Well, all you have to do is fake your disability. I would not do that. That's messed up.
My dad and I were carrying my sister's
not
leather
really bad.
couch when his grip slipped and it came down, crushing his hand as he screamed. I lifted it fast and froze in horror, his hand
Oh my
purple
God.
and swelling, his fingers crushed. So I googled what to
It's
do.
over.
ER immediately. Permanent hand loss within minutes. My voice shook. We're
Within
going
minutes? Bro, Google is that serious. Like, I'll search up, oh, I stubbed my toe, and then it'll say, you have to go to the hospital. Your toe is going to be paralyzed forever.
Hospital
Like, bro,
now,
what?
but my sister stopped me, holding a bundle of herbs. He's not going to a hospital. We heal him the way our ancestors did. My frail dad was
What?
crying under his breath, and I
Our
knew my herb-obsessed
ancestors.
sister was going to get him killed. She packed a fistful of wet leaves onto his crushed hand, and within seconds it swelled twice the size.
Oh my
She clapped.
God.
The swelling means
Shout out
it's
to
pulling the
Leon.
poison out, but his hand didn't look right.
Pulling
so
the
I sent
poison
a photo
out.
to ChatGPT, and my blood ran cold. These plants can poison his bloodstream and kill him within the hour.
She's trying to kill him. What the? Shout out to Mary. Yo,
I screamed,
Bro,
this
what?
can kill him. He needs a doctor. But she ignored me and wrapped it
Shout
tighter.
out to
My
your
dad
boy,
grabbed
Leo.
my wrist with his good hand. Don't fight your sister, son. It'll be okay. He was too
No,
gentle
it
to
will
defend
not.
himself, so I knew I had to fight for him. But the second he finished, his voice cracked into a scream
my
he couldn't
God.
hold back. My sister lit up.
Chat,
That's
he's
the
cooked.
toxins leaving. Yes, daddy. Scream. Then his head dropped. His skin went gray. His breaths shallow and
He's
fast. This
dead.
is what ChatGPT said. You're killing him. I caught him as he swayed, but she was already
Imagine
reaching
saying,
for another
this is what Chat GPT. That sounds stupid, bro.
handful of leaves.
In
She
my
packed
opinion.
another fistful of leaves onto his hand, and I grabbed his arm to leave. But
She
just
ate
then,
to-
the swelling
toxic
suddenly went
chocolate?
down, the purple fading back to pink right in front of me. My jaw dropped as my dad flexed his fingers like nothing had happened.
What?
My sister threw her arms in the air. Herbs fix everything. Doctors are a scam. I stood there frozen in
Bro,
disbelief.
what? Thank you for the laughing disco, Pam. W Pam with the laughing disco. Thank you, Pam. W Pam, bro. Thank you, Pam.
But
for
she
the
wasn't
laughing
done. She
disco.
grabbed my dad by the shoulders, overly confident. Now let me realign your spine, just like our ancestors did. Before I could
Bro,
stop her,
what?
she twisted his back hard, and a sickening crack echoed through the room as he collapsed onto the floor, his legs limp beneath him. She broke his back because she thought our
What the
ancestors knew
hell?
everything. I pointed. Can your plants fix
Thank
that?
you for the hiding
My
it.
dad and I were carrying my sister's leather couch when his grip slipped.
Oh
and
my
it came.
God.
Oh my God. Honey, you're finally awake? You've been in a coma for 7 years. I bolted upright and
you
stared
for
at
the
the
flower.
IV tape on my arm. My wife squeezed my hand and started crying. I thought you would never wake up. I touched my face to feel my beard, but my chin was smooth. The last thing I remembered was
What?
climbing into the laundry basket to scare her, so I asked, was I really in a coma all this time? Instead of answering, she just started to cry harder, so I grabbed her shoulders and begged her to tell me everything I missed. She wiped a tear and looked straight down.
She's gonna
Your dog
lie.
Buster died 2 years ago. My heart
What?
fell out of my chest.
Wait,
no, my
what?
boy Buster. She nodded, so I just burst into literal tears. She grabbed my shoulder. There's something else you need to know. That's when the door swung open, and a huge guy walked in
Oh,
wearing
nah.
a robe and slippers
Who
like he
is
lived
that?
right here in the hospital. I froze
Shout
as
to
he walked
Tegan.
straight past me and kissed my wife on the forehead. He patted my leg. Welcome back, champ. My wife lovingly held his
Welcome
arm.
back,
This
champ.
is Dave, my new husband. I
Shout to
stared at his
Leon.
slippers, wondering how I lost my wife to a man dressed like a giant toddler, and screamed, no.
Oh,
I
hell
lunged at him,
nah.
but the IV lines yanked me back and my legs gave out.
Oh.
So I was swinging at him from the floor while he calmly held my forehead. You've been gone 7 years, champ. Don't you have something to say to your wife? I stopped struggling because he was right. I'd been gone for 7 whole years, so I started confessing everything from my knees. Babe, I was the one who dented the car and blamed the neighbors.
Dented the car. Think of the happy
Kid.
pill.
She yelped
That's
and
crazy.
covered her mouth, but I kept going. I've also been faking liking your mom's cooking for 10 years.
Oh.
It tastes like wet cardboard. She grabbed my arms. Honey, stop talking right now. I sucked in a breath for the big one, and she saw where this was heading, so she shook me by the arms
Bro,
and screamed,
what?
It's just a prank. When you jumped out of that laundry
It was a prank? How is that a prank? You guys. How is that a prank? That cannot be a
basket,
prank.
I hit you with the ironing board and you
Shout out to
passed out.
Jaden.
I planned it all in the ambulance. She wiped her sweat and laughed.
So
It's only
hitting
been
him
2
with a
days.
car-
Dave is just
what?
another patient here. But before my
Give it a
brain
treat,
could
then.
process what she had said, my mouth blurted out. I also pawned your grandmother's ring to put a deposit on a jet ski. The room went
Oh,
dead
nah.
silent, and Dave slowly
It's
backed
over.
out the door. She let go of my arms. What jet ski? So I lay back down, closed my eyes, and slipped back into my coma. Oh my
It's
God,
over.
honey, you're finally awake? You've been The day I moved into Dad's house, the first thing he did was point at the giant greenhouse in his backyard. "Don't go in there, kid."
What
I'm
is bro
serious.
doing?
I nodded, and that night naturally snuck in there. My jaw dropped looking at the green plants surrounded by grow lights, but suddenly I felt a hand on my shoulder.
Oh,
I
nah.
told you not to go in here, kid.
Who's
These
that?
are just exotic herbs, but still,
Oh, I
don't
know.
tell anyone they're here. I instantly realized Dad was growing something illegal, so when he fell back asleep, I snuck out and picked a few herbs.
Why
I gave
would
a small
bro-
bag to my classmate Rory the next day for $50, promising him it's that good
$50?
homegrown Zaza. At home, I watched my dad watering and smelling the plants, and that night gathered more to sell. But the next day, Rory came in furious. "That Zaza you sold me was terrible. It nearly put me in the hospital. I want my money back."
Whoa,
He yelled
nah.
so loud our teacher walked over. "What did he
How?
sell you?" "Zaza." My face instantly
Zaza.
went pale, and before I knew it, I was in the office with
That's
police
Adeline.
officers questioning me on where I got the grass. My legs trembled because they'd found the 3 sealed bags of Zaza in my backpack, and an officer
Zaza.
slid me the juvenile
The hell is
detention
Zaza?
center flyers. I instantly cracked. "It's my dad's. He grows the Zaza in his greenhouse." The cops instantly nodded. They drove while I cried in the back seat with handcuffs on, knowing
Why
Dad
is
would go
bro
to jail
getting
because I
arrested?
didn't listen. They knocked on
Shout
his
out to
door.
Steph.
"Sir, we're here to search the greenhouse." Dad's face went pale, and I mouthed, "I'm sorry, Dad." His legs shook as he led the officers to the greenhouse, looking like he was about to pass out. The officers walked in and saw the green, then instantly reached for their cuffs. I screamed, "No," but then I heard one of them
He's getting
loudly
arrested.
inhale. "Wait, this isn't grass." He knelt down and picked a leaf. "This is cilantro and rosemary. My
the
nonna
hell's-
uses this for recipes." He turned to me. "Is this what you sold?" I instantly nodded, and he got in my face. "Then why did you tell us it was grass?" "I thought it was." Dad was
Grass.
still trembling and pale as the officers shook their heads and
Bro,
walked out.
what?
He dropped to his knees crying. "I never wanted anyone to know I grow cilantro in my back garden. That's the most embarrassing hobby a man could have." I realized in
serious?
horror my classmate Rory had smoked cilantro. The day I moved into
What the
Dad's
hell?
house, I stepped on the plane for my very first flight lesson, but as soon as we were in the air, my instructor gripped my shoulder. "I won't teach you what I'm supposed to. Instead, here's everything you need to know in case you start to crash."
What?
He showed me how to tilt the plane upright.
You gotta teach him everything, or else he's probably most likely gonna crash. Like, bro, right, chat?
And how to level the wheels for a
What is
crash
bro
landing.
saying?
All while I asked why I needed to know this. That's when he gripped my shoulder, because I have nothing
Ouch.
to live for.
Think
I
of the
saw
hiding
tears in his eyes, and my stomach dropped. My wife cheated on me. There's nothing left. He opened the door and stepped
Oh,
towards
nah.
it before I could respond. The whole cabin roared with
Is bro
wind
gonna
as he
jump
looked at me.
out?
"I've taught you everything you need." I reached for him, but he was already
Oh.
tipping over. I gripped my head in disbelief as he fell
Bro
from the
just
sky. Then I
oofed
looked back
himself.
at the million buttons I didn't understand and realized in horror I had to land
He
this
just-
plane on my own. I sat down
How is he
with my
gonna do
legs
that?
shaking, but when I grabbed the wheel, we instantly started diving. I tried to
Bro,
pull
thank you for becoming a member. W, Henny. Henny, W. Thank you, Henny, for the member. For becoming a member. W, Henny. But, bro, imagine trying to fly a plane and you don't even know how to fly it. Shout out to Helena. W, Henny, though, for
like
becoming
he
a
said,
member.
But the diving got worse. I pressed random buttons, hoping for the best, but all I got was an alarm blaring. That's when I pulled
You
out
were
my
sorry.
phone. I YouTubed how to land a small plane and propped it against the dash,
small
muttering
plane.
to myself. I gripped
That's
the wheel
not
with
gonna
one
help.
hand, using my other to pause the video every few seconds
Oh,
so I
nah.
could copy the guy. The ground got closer,
Thank you
and
for
the
the
plane
W.
tilted and turned, but I managed to steady
He
it
has to
just
lock
enough.
in.
The plane hit the grass hard, bouncing and skidding sideways.
Oh, he saved
My head
himself.
hit the dashboard and started bleeding, but I got
I don't even care if it hit the dashboard. I wouldn't care. I'm just glad I
up and
survived.
ran out on the same field my
Shout out to
instructor
Martin.
had jumped. I couldn't believe I was alive. But then I saw the ambulance across the field. They were pulling a white sheet over my instructor's body.
Already?
He left me all alone up there with no training, and I still don't know how I wasn't under a sheet right
Shout out to
beside him.
Back Kid.
I stepped on the plane for my very first.
Dang.
I was walking home from school when I saw someone dressed in a worn-out duck costume, waving at me, and my mom
Chat, how many people are watching the stream? Thank you for the tree gift. Guys, like the stream and subscribe if you want to
yanked
shout
me
out.
inside before I could get closer. She yelled, "Don't go near that duck. Legend says if you take off his mask, he'll make you regret it and never leave you alone." She said nobody knew where he came
you for
from.
the hiding
I
gift.
peeked through the window and watched 2 kids sprint past the duck as he quacked
Thank
at
you for
them,
the tree
screaming.
gifts.
But I had no friends and ate lunch alone behind the bleachers every day. So I figured unmasking him was the most interesting thing that would happen to
Unmasking
me
him.
all year. So the next day, I went looking for him. I spotted the duck quacking at kids on the corner, so I crouched behind a bush and crept up behind him.
Oh, nah.
Right as my fingers grazed the mask, his head snapped around and
Oh,
stared dead at me.
that's
The beak
scary.
was inches from my face, and I
That's
bolted.
really
The
scary.
duck took off after me. Quack, quack. I sprinted toward my
He's
house,
cooked.
but he stayed right on me. Was he about to kidnap me? Was the legend true? Then there was
Oh,
1
nah.
second where I felt his fingers touch my backpack, and didn't, and that scared me more than if he had. I saw him close behind me and realized this waddling weirdo was the most attention anyone had paid me in months. But every time I cut toward my street, he swung in front of me and steered me the other way, like he was leading me somewhere. Then I heard it say, "Wait, wait!" He chased me into a random
What?
backyard, and I hit a tall fence with nowhere left to run. I
Shout
shut
out
my
to
eyes
Doug
and yanked the
Corridus.
mask off, bracing for the worst. But when I saw who was underneath, my jaw dropped. Instead of a scary man, it was just a big kid, hugging the duck
the
head to his
hell?
chest. Please don't run away.
is Sparrow
This is my
doing?
backyard. I only want a friend to play with. Behind him, a board game sat laid out on the grass with 2 chairs facing each other. The duck turned to me and said, "Also, I waved at you earlier because I sit alone
Shout
behind
out
the
to
bleachers
Max.
too, and I see you sit alone. Want to sit together tomorrow?" I grabbed his duck hand and nodded. I was walking home from school
W.
when I saw
Shout out to Christy.
I was in line for flight 1001 to Houston to visit my family when a woman
W.
collapsed on the floor screaming, "That
Oh,
plane is
nah.
going to crash. Don't get on it." Everyone gasped as she
Plane is
tugged the
gonna
leg of the man
crash.
behind me, and he kicked her off. "You're
Think
insane,
of the hiding
lady."
it.
But people in front of the line went pale, clutching their boarding passes to their chests. "Oh my God, are we gonna die?" Kids started crying, and the boarding pass shook in my hands. I was 3 people from the door, so close I could see the flight attendant smiling inside, and I
It was
had
a
no
treat
idea
gift.
if she was crazy or if she was telling the
She
truth.
might
She
be
scrambled
crazy.
to her feet and grabbed a woman's arm, then a man's jacket, yanking at anyone she
Shout out
could
to
reach.
David.
"Please, I'm trying to save you." 2 gate agents rushed over and
Chat, would you trust a woman or not? I'm gonna be honest. Shout out to Maya. I would trust her because I'm not trying to risk my life. Like, bro, I don't know.
grabbed her
What do
shoulders,
you guys
trying
think?
to walk her away quietly, but she thrashed harder, tears streaming down her face.
Thank you for the
"They're
$2.
trying to
Tidy. W Tidy with the $2. Thank you, bro.
kill us all."
Add me
That's
on
when I saw
Discord. The name
agent's
is
hand shaking, one whispering, "I'm
King523890.
scared. What do we do?" And my stomach turned, because if they were
Let her say
uncertain,
her
was she
stuff.
actually right? The crowd split around
She
me,
is
half
right.
yelling, calling her crazy, the
She
other
might
half
be
running
right.
away from the gate, gripping their kids, and all I could think about was my parents waiting in Houston, and how if she was right, I'd never hug them again. Then security stormed in and grabbed her, dragging her toward the exit
Yeah,
as
I
she
would
clawed at the
trust her,
floor.
guys.
"Tell them to check the engine." Everyone was too
The
frozen
engine?
to speak, but the way she said it, so specific, made me step up to the gate agent. "I don't know
Shout
if
out
she's
to Zay.
crazy, but could you please just check the engine?"
Yeah,
She
check
nodded,
the
pale,
engine.
and bolted toward the jet bridge to radio the crew. The whole terminal went
Imagine
silent
she's
as we waited,
correct.
everyone frozen, watching the jet bridge. Then the agent came running back, tears running down her face. They
Shout out
found a
to
crack in the
Alexa.
engine. If that plane had taken off, it would have gone down for sure and killed everybody.
Oh,
Some
nah.
people dropped to their knees, others sobbing into their hands. She was right, but the fear melted into relief because I'd get to hug my parents again. But confusion hit me. If she was right, where had they taken her? I rushed over to a security guard and asked, but he shrugged. "Back to the psych ward.
What?
She's known
Are
for
we
doing this at
serious?
airports." I wanted to tell him she just saved every soul on that flight, but he walked away.
Oh,
Everyone called her
police.
crazy, but no one asked how she knew. I was in line for flight
L
one.
police in the chat, bro.
I was lying in bed when my dad leaned into my doorway and said, "If you hear any strange noises tonight, do not get out of bed, no matter what."
What?
I clutched my blanket close to my chest. "All right, Dad, I promise I won't." He flicked off the light and left. 2 minutes later, something crashed downstairs,
What
and a
the
voice
hell?
that wasn't his growled, "You're dead." Then my actual
Oh,
dad
nah.
started yelling, "No, no, no, not like this." My entire body started shaking because my mom wasn't home, so I was the only one who could help my dad. Something heavy
Yeah, I would
slammed
help
into the
him.
wall
Think of her
downstairs,
6'7".
hard enough to rattle my window, and I yanked the blanket up to my forehead with my
Give her a
eyes
treat
locked on the
gift.
door. I heard chairs tipping over, then glass
Oh my
shattered,
God.
and I heard Dad yell, "Wait, don't shoot me." So I bolted up and grabbed my bat ready to go protect him, but his words were
Locked
stuck in
in.
my head. "Do not get out of bed no matter what." But his yelling turned into begging. "Please, I'll do anything." And my arms went weak because I'd never heard him beg in my life. I grit my
Locked
teeth
in.
and decided that Dad's life mattered more than a promise.
Yes.
I tiptoed to my door and opened it halfway, but that's when Dad went silent, and the back of my neck went cold, because at least the begging had meant he was still alive. I stopped thinking, counted to 3 in my head, and charged down there screaming,
Let's
"Don't
go."
worry, Dad, I'll save you." I came around the corner mid-scream with the bat over my head, and there was Dad on the couch with a headset
Oh.
on, yelling, "No, don't shoot me," at the
Are we serious right now? Bruh, chat. Type 1 in the chat if you thought it was real. I never thought he would be playing a shooting game. Thank you for 179K, by the way. Subscribe if you want to shout out. so we can hit 180K. And feel free to send gifts like laughing discos.
TV. The growl blasted out of the speakers again. "You're dead, old man." Dad saw me, ripped the headset off, and said, "Your mom banned me from playing, so I had to get creative." Turns out, my dad just wanted to play the game without me or mom knowing, and the voices had been him arguing with a kid online. I dropped the bat, and he pointed the controller at me. "This is exactly why I told you to stay in bed.
Pickles,
You better not tell your mother."
Dad.
He yanked me down onto the couch and shoved the second controller into my hands while I was still catching my breath. I was lying in bed when my dad... I was in line for flight 1001.
Oh, yeah, I gotta watch the next one.
I shoveled my 61st donut into my mouth, fighting the urge to get sick. And when I looked over, my opponent was already swallowing donut number 70. I'd entered the annual donut eating contest because the winner got $20,000, and I needed that money to afford my daughter's cancer surgery to save her life. She was front row cheering me on like I was her donut-eating hero, but 60 Boston creams had me questioning if her surgery was actually even worth it. I picked up my 60-second donut.
Wait, 60? Chad, you think you could eat 60 Boston cream donuts? I would not be able to. The maximum for me is probably like 8, and then I'm full. Then I'm dead. If I eat anything above 8, then my stomach will explode.
Cry because I needed to reach 100 to win when something from the crowd caught my eye. My opponent's kid was pointing and laughing at my daughter's bald head, screaming that her dad was a loser while she tried covering her head with tears in her eyes. My fists clenched under the table and we made eye contact, but I knew screaming at him wasn't going to save her. Eating donuts was, so I closed my eyes and started shoveling. The crowd's jaws dropped as I stuffed donut after donut, chugging water between bites, and with 10 donuts and no will to live left, I finally passed my opponent. My daughter pumped her fists as momentum was on my side, but then it happened. When the judges turned to the scoreboard, my opponent quickly slid 4 donuts off his stack onto mine.
Are we serious?
And I slumped over my table in horror because nobody had seen it but me. Give it up. Your daughter's surgery isn't happening. He laughed over his stack of 7 while mine now had 14. My vision blurred as I raised my head, ready to tell my daughter the Boston creams had defeated me. But then I saw her writing something on a giant piece of cardboard. Her weak fingers trembled as she pressed the pen down, but she finished, then stood up and raised the sign over her head. "Go, Dad. I love you." Her hands wobbled because she barely had the strength to hold it up, but she was trying for me anyway, and I realized I needed to try for her too. So while my opponent laughed and ate slowly, I grabbed the next donut and shoved. The next 2 minutes can only be described as peak athletic human performance. And as I stuffed the very last donut into my mouth, my opponent gripped his head, realizing what was happening. I swallowed, and the judge immediately grabbed my wrist and threw it in the air. "We have a winner." I broke down crying as the $20,000 check was handed to me.
$20,000? Oh my God.
My daughter crashed into my arms, screaming, "You did it, Daddy." I hugged her tight. "No, kiddo, we did it." But then I felt my stomach turning as I sent the 100 Boston creams all over my opponent. I shoveled my 61st...
Oh my God. Well, yeah. I would do that, bro. Like, who cares? That guy was being so
Legend, do you remember me?
Yes, I remember you. Thank you for the $2. W. Cameron, the angry gorilla, with the $2. Thank you, Cameron. W. Cameron with the 2. Thank you, Cameron.
I asked my aunt if she wanted to bury another child. We were at my grandmother's 75th birthday party when I noticed my cousin had been in the bathroom for a long time. I knocked and nobody answered, but the door was unlocked, so I opened it to check on her. She was on the floor with her back against the bathtub, head slumped forward. I dropped to my knees and shook her, but she didn't respond, and her breathing was so shallow I could barely hear it. I pulled the Narcan out of my purse and sprayed it into her nose. Then I called 911. My aunt walked by, and when she looked in, her expression shifted from confusion to rage. "What did you just give her?" "It's Narcan. It reverses overdoses." "Overdoses? My daughter doesn't do that. She probably just has a migraine." She grabbed my arm. "You probably gave her something so you could play the hero." Other family members were gathering in the hallway, and she turned to them. "She sprayed something into my daughter's nose without my permission. She carries junkie supplies in her purse, and now she's trying to make my daughter look like an addict." Then she heard the sirens. "You called 911 to come to my mother's 75th birthday? Now the whole neighborhood is going to see paramedics coming into this house?" She turned to my grandmother. "I'm so sorry, Mom. She's ruining your party." The paramedics came in and started checking Jade's vitals while the other talked to me. "You gave her Narcan?" "Yes, about 5 minutes ago." "Good call. Her breathing is still depressed. We need to take her in." My aunt stepped in front of the stretcher. "This is a family matter. Ma'am, Narcan is only temporary. Without treatment, she would stop breathing again." They loaded my cousin onto a stretcher while my aunt followed them out screaming that I had set this whole thing up. I waited at the hospital for 2 hours before my aunt came out. The doctor said she's stable. Good. She would have woken up on her own. You didn't need to call 911 like she was some homeless person dying in the street. Then the doctor came out and pulled her aside. When she came back, her jaw was tight. They said without that spray, she would have been dead before the ambulance
Dead?
arrived. But you should have called me first. I could have gotten her help without the whole world watching. I was done. Okay, sorry for helping. I didn't realize you were so eager to bury another child. She went still. Marcus died at 17 because you were too embarrassed to call 911. You tried to handle it privately, and by the time you finally asked for help,
subscribe right now if you want a shout out.
Gone. So don't tell me how to save your kids. She turned and walked out without a word. My cousin texted me a week later from rehab saying thank you for saving her life. I asked my aunt if
Okay, W.
after 20 years cleaning the Halloran's house and raising their kids, my boss called me furniture at dinner, so I packed my bags and made sure she'd never forget what that meant. Mrs. Halloran raised her wine glass and laughed. Honestly, Rosa's barely staff anymore. She's like furniture. Her guests laughed too. I kept serving dinner while the 6-year-old wandered downstairs in pajamas and hugged my waist without even looking at her mother. The 10-year-old
Someone sent a laugh at disco? I don't even know.
watched quietly from the
Shout out to
doorway.
Nebula.
After the guests
Shout
left,
out to
I packed
Wendy.
2 suitcases and wrote down all of the important tasks and
Shout out to
instructions that kept the
Leland.
house running. Let's see how long they last on their own. I included
Shout
my
out
sister's
to
address at
Elia.
the bottom. Then I taped the note inside the snack pantry where the kids would find it first. Before sunrise, I was gone. By week 2, the voicemail started. Forgotten lunches.
Thank you for the
dog
hiding
getting
gift.
wrong
Thank you for the
medication,
treat
burned
gift.
dinners.
W.
Every message ended the
Shout
same
out to
way.
Clown.
Rosa, please. I let the phone ring. Week 4 was the 6-year-old's birthday. Dad picked up the wrong cake from the wrong bakery. Mrs. Halloran called crying into my voicemail because the kids wouldn't stop asking for me. Then Mr.
Shout out to
Halloran called
Eduardo.
from urgent care after the 6-year-old had eaten something she was allergic to at a friend's house. He didn't know which foods were unsafe or even the pediatrician's name. When the doctor asked who normally managed her care, he couldn't answer. Then he said quietly, I treated you like furniture too. I'm sorry. I stared at the phone
Shout
for a
out to
long time.
Sean. I feel like we have more than 100 viewers. On my screen, guys, it says we have 100 viewers. I feel like we have way more.
Saturday morning, the doorbell rang. The
Shout
kids
out
were
to
standing on the
Bendy.
porch with backpacks. I read your note, the 10-year-old said. I pulled them inside. My phone buzzed
Type 1 in the chat if you're on the stream right now. Shout out to John. Because I do not believe we have only 100 viewers.
across the counter. Mrs. Halloran was hysterical. The kids are gone, Rosa. The police are here. I don't know how to do this without you. The little girl reached for my hand while the 10-year-old
Damn,
ate
yeah,
cereal
we
at my
got a
sister's
lot of
table.
people.
They're with me. They came here on their own. I let the silence
YouTube
sit a
is
moment.
lying.
Then I said, the furniture's keeping them
I don't
safe,
know,
and I
man.
hung up. After 20 years cleaning the Halloran,
YouTube.
I came
Their update is a glitch.
home from school and saw my little brother using my childhood pet hamster to clean up a water spill, dragging her body back and forth. I dropped my backpack
Shout out to
and grabbed her
Gotcha.
out of his hands. What the hell is wrong with you? She's an animal, not a paper towel. My mom heard me scream, walked in, and asked what was going on. He's going to kill my hamster. She's old and fragile. My mom rolled her eyes. Your brother just plays rough. He can play with her whenever he wants. My brother looked at me and said,
Yo, why do we have 17 viewers? Oh my.
yeah, I just like to play with her. I looked down. My hamster's
this
gray
is
hair was soaking
funny.
wet. I knew this
I've
was only
never
going to get
seen
worse,
this.
and I wasn't going to let my brother keep
Chat.
hurting her. So right after,
YouTube is
I took my
glitch.
hamster's cage out of the living room, into my room, and locked the door. The next
Uh-huh.
morning, I heard my brother crying and my mom banging on my door. I opened the door. My mom said, your brother's crying because you're being selfish and hiding the hamster from him. Put the cage back in the living room
Bro,
right now.
what?
But he's going to hurt it. Before I could finish my sentence, she barged into my room and took the cage out herself, placed it back in the living room. When I came home from school that day, my brother was in the living room tossing my hamster up in the air
Oh,
and
nah.
catching her like a tennis
Why is bro tossing a hamster? Are we
ball,
serious?
laughing every time she went up. I screamed at him to stop. He threw her up again and didn't try to grab her on purpose. I lunged and grabbed her an inch off the ground. I ran to my mom. He threw her in the air and dropped her. My brother
Oh,
was right
nah.
behind me. I was just playing with her. My mom ignored me and told me to go to my room. That day, my hamster
Shout out to
barely moved.
Toka.
I knew if he did one more thing, she would die from the stress. The next day after school, I saw that the cage was empty. I heard my brother laughing in the backyard. I knew immediately he was with my hamster and ran outside. He was holding her by the tail. She was limp. It's finally dead. I've been trying to do this all week. I grabbed her
Bro,
out of
what?
his hands and ran to my room.
Why
I
is he
started
killing
crying.
the
She wasn't
hamster?
moving. Then I felt her body twitch. Her eyes opened and she stood
Oh.
upright. She was so stressed that she played
She's
dead as a
alive.
defensive mechanism, and my brother believed it. I wiped my tears and went
to
downstairs
Atlas.
and lied to my mom. Mom, my hamster is dead. I'll throw away her cage. I took the cage to my room and hid it in my closet. She's an unbothered queen now. I came home
W?
from school and saw my
All right.
I was feeding my 2 koi when the neighbor's kid reached over my fence and squeezed one in his fist.
Shout out to
Look,
Silver.
Mom, it's a toy fish. The koi gaped for air
Oh,
as its
nah.
mate circled below, frantic. He's not a toy. He can't breathe. Put him back. But his mom laughed from her lawn chair. Let
Are
him
we
play.
serious?
He's having
Elma.
so much fun. I quickly pried the koi
El
loose
Mom
and lowered it
in
back
the chat.
and the two pressed together. My fists clenched because my grandmother gave them to me before she passed, and I'd promised her I'd never let them apart. Then the kid smirked. I'll prove it's a toy. Watch. He took off, but I knew he'd be back. The next morning, I saw him climb my fence and scoop both koi out, one in each fist. It's time to play. He threw one into the street, where it flopped on the asphalt, gasping. I lunged for it, but he slapped me across the face with the other koi. These toys are so fun. I grabbed his wrist, but his mom shot up from her chair. Let go of my son. Relax. Fish don't have feelings. Then I saw a car speeding toward my koi in the road. The kid pointed and laughed. Watch it get run over. I let go and dove into the street, snatching the fish up just as the car swerved past me, horn blaring. But when I turned back, the kid was crushing the other koi in his fist. I said it's a toy, stupid He twisted it until it went limp and threw it down, a gash bleeding from its gill. I eased it into the pond, but it drifted sideways. Its fins barely moving. It felt like I was losing my grandmother all over again. Then the kid smirked and ran off, and that's when I stopped being nice and started to plan. So that night, I moved both koi into a tank inside, safe, like I'd promised her. Then I sank 2 plastic toy fish to the bottom of the pond and greased the stone rim. The next morning, I saw the kid jump my fence, spot the fish below the surface, and lunge for them. But his feet hit the greased stone and shot out from under him, and he
good for him, bro. Supposed to
I can't swim, his mom screamed from her chair.
Good for him.
Son, please. The woman who told me to relax was begging now.
That's what he gets,
dripping
guys.
And sobbing, and he stared at the toy fish still in his fist. Wait, it's plastic. I patted his shoulder. You were right. These are toys.
Oh, yo, Henny with the loot box. Thank you, Henny. Henny with the $10 gift. W's in the chat for Henny. Thank you, Henny. Thank you for the tree gift. W, Henny with the loot box. W, loot box. Thank you, Henny, for the loot box. W, Henny, bro. Thank you so much, Henny. Thank you for the hiding gift.
I was feeding my 2 koi when the neighbor's kid reached over. I bought a parrot, and within 15 minutes, it had changed my life. I walked into a pet store and saw 3 parrots, $200, $150, and one for just $10. Why is that one
$10? One parrot for only $10? That's a steal. I would get that. Thank you for the high five, Danielle. W, Danielle. Thank you for the live with Disco Beans. W, Beans with the live with Disco. And thank you for the stay hydrated, Jess. W, Jess with the stay hydrated. Thank you, Jess. And thank you for the dollar, Francis. W, Francis.
Only $10. The shopkeeper rubbed the back of his neck. He's secondhand. He used to live in an adults-only club, so he says some pretty weird stuff, if you know what I mean. The parrot tilted his head at me and called me mommy, so I laughed and immediately took it home. But he squawked the second I set his cage down. A new brothel. Then my daughter came home from school. A new worker. He squawked again. I was on the floor dying. But
Chat, do parrots actually speak?
Then my husband Bill came home from work. I immediately told him to check out at my new parrot, but then it flared its wings. Bill, haven't seen you in weeks. Which girl do you want today? My husband's face turned white, and slowly mine did too. My parrot had just exposed that my husband was cheating at adult clubs.
Nah.
I bought a parrot, and within
That's crazy, bro. What?
No one showed up for my son's 6th birthday party at the skate park, so I put on a party hat to try and cheer him up. Who needs them? The
guys, subscribe right now if you want to shout out.
Thank you for the floor. I told you no one would show up. Everyone at school thinks I'm a loser, Mom. I blinked back the tears because I'd spent $600 on his birthday setup, and I still couldn't buy him the one thing he needed: friends. I knew I had to cheer him up, or he'd see himself as a loser forever. I lit the 6 candles and sang to him alone, but he was crying so hard he couldn't even blow out the candles. I stood up to look for something else that could cheer him up, and that's when I saw 12 scary men on motorcycles turning into the park.
12
and
of
they instantly
them?
sped over and started circling our table. My son Diego buried his face in my side and grabbed a fistful of my shirt.
Thank you for the
I
tree
started shoving
gifts.
his presents into a bag because we both thought we were in
Thank
danger.
you all.
The engines cut out all at once, and all of them stood up off their bikes and walked towards us. The biggest one towered over me and walked straight at our table. You got a permit for all this? I pulled Diego behind my legs. No, sir, it's just a birthday party. We're leaving right now. He stared at the birthday banner, then crouched to my son's eye level. How old are you today, boss? Diego peeked out from behind me and held up 6 fingers. He looked straight at Diego. Where are all your friends? Diego shook his head in silence,
They're not
with
there.
tears still streaming down his face. My eyes went wide. The biker reached over and pulled a party hat off the tower and snapped the elastic under his beard like it was the most normal thing in the world. He stood up and roared at his crew. Party's here, boys! 11 more hats came off the tower, and one of them relit the candles with a Zippo and winked to Diego. Make it count, kid. I didn't even know what to say, and they sat him on the biggest Harley and let him honk the horn until he was laughing so hard he couldn't breathe.
W guys, I actually thought they were about to rob the place. Like, I thought they were gonna take the table, take the cloth, take the chairs, take the balloons.
So the scariest men in town threw it instead. While Diego opened presents, the big one lowered his voice next to me. Nobody came to mind when I was his age. You don't forget it. I hope this cheered him up. Later that day, Diego hugged my neck at bedtime, party hat still on his head. Mom, you throw the coolest parties. I stroked his head. Anything for the coolest son. No one showed up for my son's 6th. My boyfriend tried a period pain simulator.
We already watched that. All right. We're gonna start a new trend. We're gonna watch Roblox stories. All right, guys. Shout out to Kyla because I've been watching his story and her story for too long, so I think it's about time.
In this town, a chair sits in the center of the square. If you sit in it, you disappear for exactly 1 hour. When you return,
What?
what? You remember nothing. Everyone believes it's a portal to a wonderful place. Kids dare each other to sit. Adults use it to escape stress. A boy named Leo sits in the
Chat. If that was a real thing, would you use it? I would not.
chair. He vanishes. He comes back smiling. He has no memory, but he feels peaceful.
No
He sits
memory?
again the next day.
I would not do
And the
that.
next. On his 10th sit, he doesn't come back. His friends gather, panicking. They wait a
Bro didn't come back? Oh,
full
nah.
day. Nothing. A town elder sighs. The chair isn't a portal. It's a mouth. It's been tasting his happiness. The first few visits were appetizers. It finally got hungry enough to swallow him whole.
It's a... what? It's a monster?
In this world, everyone is born with a star-shaped mark on their hand. The moment you turn 15, it grants you any superpowers you want.
Any superpowers? Guys, if you had to choose a superpower, what superpower would you choose? I'm obviously choosing, like, flying. Or, like, infinite power. Or no. Infinite... like, I don't know.
But there's one rule. You can only use your power once. After that, the star turns into a gray scar and disappears
Once?
forever. One boy chose flight just to soar above the city. Another picked time
Oh.
manipulation to skip classes. One by one, everyone used their power and lost it forever. But not Mason.
Forever?
Years passed, and he still hadn't used his. His friends laughed at him. What's the point of having a superpower if you're too scared to use it? Mason always smiled. I'm waiting for the moment it matters. Then, one afternoon, a school bus crashed through a
That's
bridge.
actually a good idea. Nah, you gotta use it when, like, it actually matters.
Railing and hung over a river. Without
Like,
hesitation,
saving
Mason
people.
chose super strength. He lifted the bus back onto the bridge just before it fell. When every child climbed
W.
out safely, his power vanished forever. Mason looked at the children hugging their parents. Then
Bro's
he finally
Goku.
understood. A superpower only lasts for a moment, but the lives you save can last a lifetime. In this world, everyone
W.
is born... I hated my father for 15 years because of one rule. Every night before bed, he forced me to lock my bedroom door 3 times. I thought he was paranoid.
Why?
When I asked why, he always said, "One day you'll understand." I was embarrassed when my friends saw me doing it during sleepovers. I thought my father was just controlling. When I turned 18, I left home and stopped listening to him. Years
It's kind of rude, bro.
passed. Then
in
one
my
night I got a
opinion.
call from my old neighbor. She asked me one question. "Does your father still make you lock your door 3 times?" I laughed and said no. Her voice became quiet. "Then you should start again." My heart stopped. She told me something I never knew. When I was a child, someone used to enter our house every night. My father never called.
Every
but he noticed
night?
one thing. The person always
It's a robber, bro. What?
opened my door. That was why my father made me lock it. I went home the next day and found an old note from him. It said, "I know you thought I was trying to control you. I was only trying to make sure you were safe, even when I couldn't be
W.
there." I hated my father for
I was
Actual
sitting on the
W.
toilet and using my phone until I realized I had left something in the oven. So I had to get up and check on it until I realized.
Guys, let's hit 180K at this stream. Subscribe right now if you want to shout out and like the stream. Alright? Type 1 if you subscribed and I'll give you a shout out.
Also that the door was jammed. But when my brother was walking outside, I realized I could ask him for help. But he didn't hear my cry for help. Fast forward to 50 years, and I was still stuck in my bathroom with nothing to eat and drink but my own poop and pee.
Shout out
Until
to
someone
Ollie.
opened the door, and it was Tung Tung Sahur himself.
Tung
I
Tung
was so
Tung Sahur? Bro, what? Thank you for the hiding this.
relieved that I was saved until Tung Tung Sahur
That's a
started beating me
tanky.
up out of nowhere. What would you do if you were stuck in your bathroom? I was
Bro, what?
every night. A black
Shout out to head nurse.
notebook appeared in Eli's room. Inside it said what Eli would regret the next day. The first message said, "You'll regret not studying." Eli studied
Not studying.
all night and got a
If I had that book, that would be like a superpower. I would use it every time I could.
perfect score.
to help
The
me
next
out.
night, the notebook wrote, "You'll regret laughing at
Shout out to
Noah."
Fox.
So Eli
Thank you
stayed
for the hiding
silent.
it.
Soon he started checking the notebook before every decision and stopped
Shout out
making
to
mistakes
Cho, bro.
completely. But the
Shout out
safer
to
his
Jack.
life became, the emptier it felt. Eli quit soccer because he was going to miss the winning shot. He skipped the school trip because he might lose his phone. And he never told the girl how he felt because she wouldn't feel the same way. But one night, a new sentence appeared. "Tomorrow you will regret being careful." Eli stared at
What?
it until sunrise. The next day, he did everything he was afraid of. He stepped onto the soccer field and missed the winning shot. But his teammates
Why
helped
would
him up
he
and
miss
started
it?
laughing with him. On the school trip, Eli dropped his phone into
Why
a
would
lake.
he
But
drop
for the
his
first time
phone?
in years, he looked at the world around him instead of a screen. After school, he told the girl how he felt. She didn't feel the same way, but she smiled. "I'm glad you finally told me." At exactly
W.
midnight, the notebook appeared one last time. "Today you made 3 mistakes, but not one of them became a regret. Well done. You've passed this stage." After that, every page turned blank. And that's when Eli understood. A perfect life isn't a life without mistakes. It's a life that isn't controlled by fear. Every night,
W.
in this world, everyone is assigned a pet at birth.
What the hell?
The pet mirrors
A pet at birth?
your soul. Happy
If I had to choose a pet, if I could choose a pet for this power, I would choose like Oh no, I would choose a cat. I never had a cat before. I have a dog right now, but shout out to Henry.
People get dogs. Angry people get snakes. A boy named Leo gets a rabbit. He loves it. It's soft,
rabbit.
kind, and always nuzzles him. One day, Leo gets into a fight. His rabbit twitches. He gets into another fight. The rabbit bites him. He loses his temper and punches a wall. The rabbit lunges at his throat. Leo shoves it away, screaming. The rabbit lands hard and stops moving. Leo panics. He takes it to the vet. The vet looks at it and says, "This isn't a rabbit. It's a parasite. It feeds on your anger. It's been eating
Oh, nah.
your rage for years. Now that it's dead, you're going to feel everything you've been suppressing." In this world, everyone is assigned.
That's crazy.
This 18-year-old discovered his father's secret while applying to college. Julian Hernandez had lived a normal life with his dad for 13 years, but when he entered
Shout
his
out to
social
Kai.
security number, it didn't match his name. So he asked a school counselor for help. The counselor searched his information and found Julian's face on a missing children database.
A
He had vanished
missing children database? Look at that.
from Alabama
Bro, it's not
when he
even
was
missing.
only 5, and his mother had spent
Go
years
to
searching
02
for him.
Road.
Then police uncovered the shocking truth. The father who had raised Julian was the man accused of abducting him 13 years earlier.
What the hell? Oh, this was a real story?
You'll have a better life here.
My mom swore she'd
The teacher stopped beside.
Oh my
Since
god.
Oliver was born, his body was made entirely of solid blue ice.
Think of the tree
If he
gift.
ever tried to hug
Solid blue ice? Guys, if you had the power to make yourself solid blue ice, would you do it? I would do it. If I had to, I
his
would.
parents or play with other children, he would instantly freeze them solid. The townspeople
Never
were terrified
mind, I wouldn't. I would not.
of him and called him a monster. Heartbroken and
mind.
afraid of hurting anyone else, Oliver ran away to
Nope.
live completely alone in a deep, dark mountain cave. He stayed there for years, convinced his existence was just a curse. But a few years later, a catastrophic drought struck the town. The deadly heat dried up every river, and the people were literally dying of thirst. Hearing their
Oh,
desperate
no.
cries, Oliver quietly walked down from the mountain and stood in the center of the empty lake. Instead of running back to the cold shade to survive, he just sat down under
What
the
is Bro
scorching,
gonna
boiling
do?
sun. The people watched in pure horror as his body began to violently melt. He voluntarily
Oh,
dissolved
nah.
into a massive lake of fresh water. That's when the townspeople finally understood. Oliver was made of solid ice, but he was the only one with a truly warm heart. Ever since Oliver was born, his body
W. What the hell?
Haven't been to the toilet in 4 days.
What the hell?
Hey, babe.
I'm not gonna make it. Bring this.
I'm not a
I'm gonna crash out.
The teacher paused.
I cannot find a good
In
short.
this world, you
Okay.
age faster the more you worry about other people. Most people aged slowly because most people only carried a few lives.
Yeah, I would try to age slowly, right, guys? Chat. Would you try to age slowly or age fast? I'm gonna choose slowly. Shout out to Brady.
On their mind. But a kid named Adrian was 14 and looked 30, gray at the
Damn.
temples, lines around his eyes, hands
Nah,
that
bro
looked
looks 70.
like they belonged to someone's father. Nobody believed his real age because nothing about him looked like a child anymore. His mother left when he was 9, walked out on a Tuesday and never came back. He had a 7-year-old brother and a 5-year-old sister still asleep upstairs. He made breakfast that morning and never stopped. Walked them to school, packed their lunches, checked their homework, stayed up until they fell asleep, and then stayed up longer making sure the door was locked. Every single night for 5 years. Then one afternoon, his teacher held him after class. She didn't ask about his grades. She looked at him for a long time and said, "You're still a kid. You know that, right?" Adrian didn't say anything. His hands started shaking. It was the first
Oh,
time
nah.
in 5 years someone looked at him and saw the child instead of the man he had
W.
to become. His face was never aging because something was wrong with him.
So
It was
to
aging
Keegan.
because he carried the weight that the person who left should have carried. In this world, you age.
In this world, everyone is born with a button on their wrist.
A button
And the
on
moment you
their
turn
wrist.
18, it grants you any wish you want.
Any wish? Guys, if you had to choose any wish you want with the button, what would you choose? I'm gonna choose have infinite money. Infinite money is like, oh, that would be insane.
One kid wished for
Like that would be the best idea, you know? Thank you for the Woof You gift. Thank you for the $20 gift. W Henny in the chat with the $20 gift. Thank you, Henny, for the Woof You. W Henny in the chat. As I was talking about money, bro. W Henny. Thank you, Henny, for the big gift, bro. W Henny, I appreciate the support. W's in the chat for Henny right now. Shout out to Henny. Thank you so much, Henny, for the big gift. W.
hours and woke up flying around the school. Another wish to be the strongest
Thank
and
you,
lifted a
bro.
car with one
W.
hand. One by one, everyone used their wish, making their wrist gray. But not Jude. His button was still glowing because he wanted the perfect wish until one day at school, he noticed the quiet kid's wrist was gray, but he still wore the same
Gray.
worn clothes, and his family was still poor. So Jude asked him, "What did you wish for?" The quiet kid looked up. "My little brother. He was born unable to see or walk, so I used mine just so he could see and walk again. He finally got to see what I look like." That night, Jude couldn't stop thinking about it. That kid had one wish, and he still used it on his brother. So the next morning, Jude
pressed his button. He wished for a lot of money. And at first, his friends laughed at his wish. They said he was just like everyone else. But later that day, Jude showed up at the quiet kid's house and gave them millions. The family couldn't believe it, and the quiet kid just kept saying thank you. It felt better than anything he could have bought, so he kept going. He paid for surgeries kids couldn't afford, helped everyone in town who needed it. That's when Jude finally understood. The best wish isn't the one that helps you. It's the one that helps everyone around you.
Yes.
In this world, everyone is born with a... In this world, everyone is given...
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, if I chose like infinite money for a wish, everybody would hunt me down. To be honest, I would try to like, I don't know. I would try to survive. I don't know.
One magical ability at birth.
Know,
you can
man.
completely
Roblox,
freeze time
bros.
for exactly 24 hours, but you can only do it once. People use
freeze time for 24 hours once. Guys, would you do that? Freeze time for 24 hours? Would you have that power?
Pauses for all sorts of things. Students pause time to cheat on their final exams. Thieves pause
Guys,
time
subscribe
to rob
right now
banks.
if you
Some
want
people
to
pause time just to sleep in on a Monday. But
Keep
Arthur hoarded his. He wanted to save his 24 hours for the absolute perfect moment. He never used it during his wedding. He never used it when he won the lottery. By the time Arthur was 80 years old, he was one of the only people left who hadn't used his pause. One afternoon, sitting in a hospital room, he watched an old man holding the hand of his dying wife. The heart monitor flatlined. The wife passed away. Instantly, the old man pressed his chest, and time froze. The doctors stopped moving. The clock stopped
Give her the
ticking.
GG
Arthur,
easy.
who wasn't frozen, walked over to the old man and asked, "Why did you waste your pause? You can't save her. She's already gone." The old man didn't look up. He just gently held his wife's frozen hand and whispered, "I didn't pause time to save her. I paused time so I could have one last day to hold her hand before I have to say goodbye." He finally understood. Time isn't something you save for the perfect moment. It's something you use to hold on to the people you love. In this world, everyone
I mean, but he could have just holded her hand without pausing the time. That wasn't really needed, in my opinion.
A choir director pulled a 10-year-old boy to the front of the room on his first day and told him to sing. The boy opened his mouth and the director cut him off after 3 notes. He turned to the rest of the class and said, "That's what it sounds like when someone doesn't belong." The room laughed. The director kept him in the choir but made him stand on stage with his mouth closed for every performance.
Shout
An
out to
entire year
Luna.
of standing under the lights in silence while everyone around him sang. He never told his mother. He just stood there. After the year ended, he never sang again. But he listened. He listened to everything. He studied how sound moved, how voices broke, how rhythm carried weight. He memorized every note he was never allowed to sing. By 32, he ran the biggest record label in the city. He had launched more careers than any executive in the industry. No one
Guys, like the stream. Double tap your screen.
knew he couldn't get through a single song without his throat tightening. He just never let anyone hear the silence underneath. One afternoon, his assistant brought him a demo tape. Handwritten label. No agent, no manager. A desperate letter attached, begging for one chance. The voice on the tape was older, rougher, but trained. He listened to the whole thing without moving. Then he read the name on the letter and went still. It was his old music teacher. He sat there for a long time. Then he picked up a pen and wrote one line on the rejection letter. That's what it sounds like when someone doesn't belong. He sealed the envelope and never listened to the tape again. A choir director pulled a 10-year-old boy to the front of the room on his first day and told... This desperate father sold his 6-year-old
Shout out to One Piece fan.
son to a wealthy stranger for a single briefcase of cash. The whole town watched in disgust as the father walked away with the money, leaving his boy behind. They branded him a monster. The boy grew up in extreme luxury, but his heart was fueled by pure hatred for the man who sold him like an object. Years later, the son had become a ruthless billionaire. Obsessed with revenge, he bought his father's entire neighborhood. His plan was to bulldoze the old man's crumbling house himself and throw him out onto the cold streets. With security guards behind him, the son
Shout out to Mr. Cookie.
kicked down the door of the shack, ready to gloat. But he found his father lying on a broken bed, taking his final breaths. The old man didn't apologize.
R.I.P.
He just smiled with tears in his eyes, pointed to that exact same briefcase in the corner, and passed away. Angry, the son ripped open the briefcase, expecting cash, but there wasn't a single dollar inside. Instead, he found his own childhood medical records. He had been dying of a rare disease, and the wealthy stranger was the only one who could afford the cure. The father never sold his son. He gave him up to save his life, choosing to be hated forever, just so his boy could live.
My name is Gwen.
This corrupt mayor ordered his crew to bulldoze a poor family's tiny... The robber points a gun at you and tells you to get on the ground. You say, "You're only wearing that mask because you're ugly as ah."
Oh, no. Why would you say that? Chat, would you say that? That would be, like, risking your life, saying that. Like, if you said that, you would be dead, bro. He would probably, like, shoot you. I would not do that. I would not do that. Shout out to Next Newbie. Shout out to, Random
Right?
edits.
Everyone starts laughing. The robber yells, "Are you stupid? You can't talk like that to someone pointing a gun at you." You laugh and say, "Bro, you're trying to rob the Federal Reserve with just one pistol. You're the only idiot here." The robber freezes, furious. He tries to shove you, but you step aside and he falls flat on the floor. A few seconds later, the police rush in and you become a hero. The next day at school, the bully blocks your way and tells you to give him all your lunch money. You say, "I won't give you my lunch money, but I can give you my toothbrush. Your breath smells awful." Everyone at school starts laughing. The bully gets mad and yells,
I'm gonna kill you.
You grin and say, "Your breath already did that." The bully tries to say something back, but he suddenly starts stuttering. You laugh and say, "Yeah, just keep your mouth closed so we can finally breathe." The bully runs away crying. Everyone wonders why you weren't scared of him. This is Kluver-Bucy syndrome, a condition that can happen after brain damage and causes a person to lose their sense of fear. The robber points a gun at you and tells you to get on the ground.
Crazy.
Guys,
In this world, everyone is born with a chain around their wrist. The more you
A
lie,
chain around
the
your
heavier it
wrist.
gets. One kid
The heavier it
lied about
gets.
cheating on a test and his chain doubled overnight. Another lied about where she'd been and could barely lift her arm the next morning.
Damn.
Light chain, honest person. Heavy chain, liar. And no one had a heavier chain than Marcus. His dragged across the floor.
Oh my gosh. How many? Oh my, such a London Jack. How many times did bro lie? Bro probably lied like 67 times, bro.
Or everywhere he went. Kids moved out of his way.
Shout out
Teachers
to
watched him
Jackson.
like he'd already done something wrong, so nobody talked to him. He ate alone. He walked home alone. Why trust someone whose chain speaks for itself? Then one
Shout out
afternoon,
to
a new girl
Godzilla.
sat next to him at lunch. She looked at his chain but didn't move. She asked him what the biggest
Damn.
lie he ever told was.
Think you were
Marcus looked at him.
6'7".
"I've never lied."
Think you were
She
the
almost
hiding
laughed,
it.
but his
W.
chain didn't
David
move.
D
She
with the
realized he was
6'7".
serious and asked why it was so heavy. He told her everything. That kids made up a rumor he'd stolen from the teacher's desk. That someone told everyone his parents were in jail. That every week a new lie got told about him. And every single one his
what?
chain absorbed. She stared at him. "Your
Damn.
chain isn't yours," she told everyone. And one by one, every kid who had ever
That's
lied
not
about
his
Marcus
chain.
watched
So bro hasn't been lying. Guys, subscribe right now if you want a shout out. We gotta hit 180K, bro.
their own chains grow heavier. The boy who started the rumor could barely
Damn.
lift his wrist. The girl who lied about his parents had to drag hers down the hallway. And Marcus's chain, link by link, it got lighter. That's when the whole school finally understood. His chain was never measuring his lies. It was carrying theirs. In this world, everyone is born with a chain around.
This dad had
Toby.
twin boys, but he only loved one of them. Josh was the favorite. He got new phones, cool things, and lots of praise. But Mark got nothing. On graduation day, their dad asked,
What do you want
That's
to do with your
L,
life?
bro.
Josh said, I'm going to make millions of dollars. His dad
Millions?
smiled proudly, then looked at Mark with disgust.
And you?
I just want to help poor people, Mark said softly. The dad laughed and replied,
You're a total loser. Get out of my house
L.
forever.
10 years passed. Josh lived
Shout
in a
out to
giant
Chris.
mansion with fast cars and piles of cash. Mark ran a charity to help families in need. Whenever the dad saw Mark on the news, he just made fun of him. Then one morning, the dad tried to buy a coffee, but his card was declined. He looked up at the TV and froze. Breaking news. Josh was arrested for stealing millions of dollars. The dad rushed home to find police tape everywhere. The police
Oh,
took the
nah.
mansion, the cars, and every dollar. The dad sat crying on the sidewalk. Suddenly, a nice car pulled up. Mark stepped out.
Mark, help me. Josh was set up. We lost everything.
The dad cried. Mark looked him in the eye and said, Josh wasn't set up. He is 100% guilty.
Thank you for
The
the
people he
treat
scammed
gift.
came to my charity for help. I gave the proof to the FBI. Now the victims get all their money back, and you are left with nothing. This dad had twin boys. In this world, you can transfer your own years of life to anyone by touching their chips.
Anyone?
When Liam was 10, he watched his mother give 5 of her years to save a dime.
Oh, wait, restart that. Yeah. No, I'm joking.
Give 5 of her years to save a dying stranger. She aged instantly, her hair turning gray right in front of him.
Oh my
Furious
God.
that people would just throw
So
their
it's
lives
Jason.
away, Liam swore he would never give his time to anyone. He hoarded his years. He lived perfectly safe, exercised, and kept away from the sick. He watched his friends give their
W?
years to their sick pets, their parents, and their lovers.
Think we're
Eventually,
star.
they all passed away, leaving Liam completely alone. Liam lived to be 110 years old.
110?
One afternoon, sitting alone in a park, he saw a young woman who looked incredibly old and frail. She only had 1 day left
One
to live,
day?
but she was surrounded by a massive family, laughing, crying, and holding her hand. Liam walked up and asked her how she could be smiling when her time was up. She looked at her family and whispered, because I gave my years to them. Liam froze. He finally understood.
them.
The years you keep for yourself just make you old, but the years you give away make you immortal. In this world, you can transfer your own years of life.
What?
A restaurant owner grabbed a pot of boiling soup off the stove and poured it over
Shout
a
out
child
to
dishwasher's
Action
hands because the
Jackson.
boy
Oh
dropped
my
the plate.
God.
The skin came off in sheets. The boy screamed and held his hands out shaking. The owner looked down at him and said, if you can't hold a plate, you're worthless. Get out of my kitchen. He was 11. His hands never fully healed. The nerve damage ran so deep he couldn't grip a glass without pain. He couldn't write, couldn't tie his shoes, couldn't hold a pencil without his fingers locking up. But every night he sat alone and squeezed a rubber ball until his knuckles went white and his eyes watered. Then he switched hands
Dang.
and did it again. It took 6 years before he could hold a knife steady. By 30, he was the top trauma surgeon in the city. His hands were the
Dirty.
steadiest in any operating room. No one knew they still burned every time he scrubbed in. He just never let them see him flinch. One night, a man was rushed in. Grease fire at a restaurant. Burns across both arms. Chest
Dang.
crushed by a falling beam. Every surgeon on call
That was
said
a
too risky.
Giovanni.
One man answered. He walked in, looked down at the patient, and stopped. Same face, same
Shout out to
mouth.
Hot
The man
Love.
was conscious, gasping. Please, save my hands. I can't feel my hands. The surgeon didn't speak. He worked for 9 hours. He repaired the lungs, rebuilt the ribs, closed every wound with perfect precision. Then he got
W.
to the hands. He stopped. He pulled off his gloves and held his own scarred hands under the light. The owner's eyes went wide. The surgeon leaned down and said quietly, if you can't hold a plate, it won't matter. A restaurant owner grabbed a pot of boiling soup.
A man woke up in a hospital with severe amnesia, unable to remember a single detail about his life. A tearful woman sat.
Hold
My
up,
son
let's
dumped water
watch
on me at
another
2
one.
a.m. and while filming
Oh, 2 a.m. Dumping water at 2 a.m. is insane. Shout out
it
to
on his phone
Kevin.
yelled, wake up, bro, it's a prank. Right at that moment, I could have swatted him like a fly, but I just laughed and
That
said,
is not a
nothing.
prank.
My son smiled and said, this is just the beginning. The next morning, we were having breakfast like usual, but my son wasn't at the table. I went into his room to check where he was, but I got hit in the face with a bat as soon as I opened the door.
Damn.
My son shouted, Dad, it's a prank, haha. I was about to tear this little rascal apart, but my wife stopped me and said, don't you dare touch an innocent child. So I had no choice but to leave quietly. After 10 minutes, I was getting ready to leave for work. But then I realized
Thank
I
you for
left
the
my project
100.
folder at my room. I went back to get it and saw that my briefcase full of documents was on fire. Within seconds, the whole room was in flames. In a panic, I called the fire department, and when I ran outside, my son was already standing there with a camera. However, my wife wasn't there. I asked my son where she was, and he replied, when my video gets 10 likes, I'll tell you where she is. So
10 likes? Are we serious, bro? What is this supposed to be, bro?
I immediately went back
This is
into my
not
son's room, where my
TikTok.
wife was lying
Finger
unconscious.
stuff.
Somehow I carried her outside, and the firefighters had already arrived. When they asked who had started the fire, my son immediately shouted, my stupid father is responsible for everything. They looked at me with
What?
disgust and ran into the house. My son was still filming on his phone with a smile, so I walked up and snatched it from his hands. You have no right to take my phone. Without a word, I just grabbed his hand and put him in the car. I said, now it's my turn to prank. Right then, my son
okay.
started crying and begging for forgiveness. But 20 minutes later, we arrived at the orphanage, where staff were already
The
waiting for my son.
orphanage?
My son
Yeah, the orphanage? Nah. Bro said the orphanage.
I was sitting in a park when a young man walked up to me and stabbed
That's
himself in the
crazy.
chest. Then he started screaming for help, claiming that I was the one who attacked him. Suddenly, another guy came out from behind a tree and yelled, I got everything on my iPhone 17 Pro Max Ultra. What made it even
Bro's
worse
just
was that I could see the
flexing.
blood was ketchup and the knife was obviously fake. Then he called the cops and tied me to a tree so I couldn't escape. Call who you want. You didn't have a proof. I did nothing, but I was dead wrong. 3 police cars showed up. I tried to explain that I was just sitting there watching gym stories on my phone while this guy faked his injury.
Thank
but they
you
didn't
guys for 1K likes. W. Thank you guys so much. Let's go.
believe me because the guy had video proof. And when I saw it, I froze. It was an AI-generated video of me
An
stabbing a guy.
AI generated video.
And the cops were such
If the cops believe the AI generated video, then we're cooked, bro. I know this isn't real, but bro, imagine this could be
boomers
real
that
in a
they
couple of
actually
years.
believed it. They arrested me and
Like,
charged me with
literally.
attempted murder. As evidence, they showed the judge the AI-generated footage. He believed too. Then doctors suddenly rushed into the courtroom. We're sorry, he died 10 minutes ago. What the hell is going on in this
What?
place? Is it simulation? I yelled. But this is where everything gets crazy. A moment later, I was sentenced to life in prison. I almost had a
Life?
heart attack. Then suddenly,
Oh my
every
God.
wall in the courtroom collapsed. We were on a YouTube movie set. It was all a prank, bro. Zach.
It was a prank. Imagine being in that situation. Imagine. This ain't no prank. I'm punching everybody. Nah, I'm joking. Bro, nah, that's crazy though. What?
King yelled. Then I pulled a bazooka out of my pocket. So, enjoy this. I was
Oh,
sitting in
nah.
a park when a young man... In this world, when someone forgets about you, you shrink. Most people stayed normal height their
shrink.
whole lives. But a kid named Jonah was barely 6 inches tall. He'd been shrinking since he was 5. He screamed in
Dang.
class and...
Bro's not even like... Bro, he's smaller than a dog. Heck, he's smaller than a cat.
No one heard him. He stood on
He's
his desk
smaller
and no
than a
one noticed.
rabbit.
Kids stepped over him in the hallway without looking down.
my
Teachers
God.
marked him absent when he was sitting right there. So Jonah stopped trying. He stopped talking. He stopped waving. What was the point of being seen if no one was looking? Then one afternoon, a girl tripped over something on the floor. She looked down and
Oh,
saw him.
hell
Most
no.
people would have kept walking. She didn't. She picked him up and didn't put him down. She told the kid next to her his name. Jonah
Oh, hell nah. Think of the high five. W, Mr. Takuna with the high five. Thank you, bro.
grew
W.
half an inch. She noticed, so she kept going. She told her friends, her teachers. She introduced him to every room like he mattered. Inch by inch, Jonah grew back. By the end of the week, he was full height for the first time in years. She looked at him and asked one question. Who forgot you that badly? Jonah didn't answer. He just
Thank you
pulled
for
out a
6'7".
family photo from his pocket. 4 people in the picture. 3 faces smiling. His had been scratched out. Jonah was never small because he was forgettable. He was small because every person he ever loved chose to forget him. In this world, when someone forgets...
That's crazy.
This is the difference between a noob and a pro. A man found a glowing silver remote with only one button, mute. He pointed it at his screaming baby brother
At his screaming
and pressed
baby
the button.
brother.
Instant silence. Thrilled by his new power, he started using it on everything that annoyed him. He muted his nagging mother. He muted his strict teacher.
Bro can mute anybody. That's
When he
insane.
got married, he
Thank you
knew
for
that
the
his
6,
wife, every
7
single time she
W
tried
El
to
Nino.
argue with him about his mistakes. He lived in a perfectly peaceful, quiet world where nobody could ever yell at him. Decades passed. As an old man, he laid in a hospital
Bro's
bed,
just
drifting
beating
away.
people.
His wife was sitting next to him, holding his hand, tears pouring down her face. Her lips were moving, saying her final emotional goodbyes to him. Desperate to hear her voice say, "I love you," one last time, he grabbed the remote and frantically pressed the button to unmute her. But the button was completely jammed. He hit it over and over, but it was
jammed? Imagine having that power and it's just jammed. That's insane.
He was forced to watch her cry in total silence. He dropped the remote. He finally understood. When you mute the hard conversations, you permanently silence the love, too. A man found a glowing silver remote with only...
That's crazy. It
I
got
had chef-
jammed, bro.
A head chef caught a kitchen boy tasting a spoonful of sauce from the pot.
$600 if I notice you. I noticed you. Pay up. Nah, I'm joking. They were lying if. I mean, you said though.
He grabbed the boy by the neck, threw him to the floor, and scraped the dish onto the tiles. He pointed down and said, "You eat when I tell you to eat. Get on your knees." The boy was 13.
Ew.
The
What is
entire
bro
kitchen
doing?
watched. No one moved. The boy got on his knees and ate off the floor. When he finished, the chef
Thank you
said,
for the
"Now
happy
get back to
poop."
work." The boy never tasted another dish in that kitchen. He never spoke during service again. He just watched. He watched how the chef moved, how the kitchen breathed, how every plate left the pass. He memorized flavors by smell alone because he never let food touch his lips without
Thank you for
permission
the
again. He
treat
studied every
gift.
cuisine he could find, not to cook, to judge. By 34, he was the most feared restaurant inspector in the country. One review from him could fill a dining room for a decade or empty it
Thank you for
overnight.
the gold
No one
coin.
knew he still couldn't eat in front of other people. He just always reviewed alone. One evening, he was assigned a final review. A struggling restaurant on the verge of closure. 1 star left. He walked through the door and stopped. Same kitchen, same tiles, same pass. The chef was older, slower, desperate. He came out personally to greet
nah.
the inspector. He didn't recognize him. The chef placed his best dish on the table and stood there waiting.
Best
the inspector looked at the
dish.
plate for
Think
a
of
long
the
time.
treat
Then he
gifts.
pushed it off the table. It shattered on the floor. He looked up at the chef and said quietly, "You eat when I tell you to eat." A head chef caught a kitchen boy tasting a spoon.
A man was sentenced to death, and when the day finally arrived, the guards asked him what
Thank
he
you for
wanted
the
as
gold
his last
coin.
wish. Other prisoners wanted to see their loved ones. Some wanted their favorite meal. But this man had a different request. He said, "All I need is a pen and a piece of paper." The guards were confused, but they gave it to him. He wrote something on the paper and gave it to one of the guards. "Please make sure my father gets this," he said. Then he was executed.
What? Bro just got executed like that.
A few days later, the letter arrived at his
nah.
father's home. His father read it and immediately fell to the ground. When the police came to check on him, they
Guys,
found
we
the
gotta hit 180K. So subscribe right now if you want to shout out, guys.
letter lying next to him. This is what was written inside. "Father, if justice were truly fair, I wouldn't be the only one facing punishment. You would be standing right here beside me. Do you remember when I stole a watch from a classmate and instead of making me return it, you told me to keep it? Or when I took
Keep
money
it?
from our neighbor's car and you used that money to
Bro,
buy us
what?
dinner like nothing happened? Do you remember when
That's a
Mom tried to
gotcha,
sit me
bear.
down and teach me right from wrong and you laughed it off and told her she was overreacting? I was just a boy. I needed someone to draw a line, not someone to erase it. Today I am paying the full price for the life I chose. But I want you to know, I forgive you. I only hope this letter finds its way to parents everywhere, to remind them that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for your child is simply say, no. Thank you for bringing me into this world, and for unknowingly walking me out of it." A man was
W.
sentenced to death.
Wait, W or L? I don't
A
even
customer
know.
grabbed my shoulder.
A man was driving with his wife. Suddenly, they saw a boy get hit by a car.
Oh!
The driver sped off without stopping. The man wanted to help,
Okay,
but his wife shouted,
Bro,
"Don't
if that happened to me, I would not just speed. Like, bro, I would check on the guy. Like, bro, that's not cool. This is not GTA, bro.
get involved. People will say it
Are
was
you
your
serious?
fault. We can't afford this." But he didn't listen. He ran to the boy. His wife got angry. She stepped on the gas and left him behind. The boy
Yeah, I
woke up in the
remember,
hospital. He looked at the
Fancy.
man and said, "Thank you for saving my life, sir." "It's nothing," the man replied. Years passed. One day, the couple's son didn't come home from school. Then the phone rang. "Your son was hit by a car. It's bad." They rushed to the hospital. The doctor said, "Your son is in critical condition. Only one surgeon can
Critical?
save him, but he's already in the middle of 3 other surgeries." The mother cried, "Please,
That's a
he's my
baby.
only child. He won't survive the trip to another hospital." Suddenly, the surgeon walked out and said, "Bring the boy in. I'll take the case." 3 hours passed. The doctor came out. "It was serious, but he will survive." The man asked, "Why did you leave the others to save my son?" The surgeon looked at him and said, "You once
Thank you
saved
for the
my life
hiding
when I
it.
was just a boy, the only child of my parents. You may not remember me." The wife broke down in tears.
We hit
The boy she wa-
180K W's in the chat. Thank you, guys. W's, bro. Let's go. Thank you guys so much. W's in the chat. Thank you all.
wanted to leave behind had just saved her own son's life. Kindness never goes to waste. It always comes back. A man was
Thank you,
driving with his
bro.
wife. Suddenly, they saw a boy.
I just made a new.
I followed the crowd that was gathered.
A man was sentenced to death, and the day of his execution finally came. Before they
Oh,
executed
nah.
him, they asked him for his last wish. Other prisoners asked
last
to
wish?
see their families. Some
Guys, let's say this happened to you. What would be your last wish? I'm gonna choose. Hear me out. Watch this. Watch this aura. I'm gonna choose to not die. Isn't that smart? Yeah, like to live. I would say, I wish I could live. And then that's a cheat code.
requested their favorite food. But this man said something
It's a cheat
different. I
code.
just need a pen and a sheet of paper. The guards were surprised, but they gave it to him anyway. He wrote something, folded the paper, and handed it to one of the officers. "Please give this to my mother," he said. Then he was executed. A few days later,
Dang.
the letter reached his mother. She read it and collapsed instantly. When police came to investigate, they found the letter beside her. This is what it said. "Mother, if justice were fair, I wouldn't be the only one being punished. You would be here with me. Do you remember when I stole a boy's bicycle and instead of correcting me, you helped me hide it? Or when I took money from the neighbor and you went with me to spend it? Do you remember when Dad tried to teach me what was right and you told him he was being too hard on me? I was just a child. I needed limits, not support to do wrong. Today, I'm paying the price for everything I did, but I forgive you. I only hope this letter reaches many parents to show them that sometimes saying no to a child is the greatest act of love. Thank you for giving me life and for helping me lose it. You're condemned." A man was sent. "You accidentally saved a drowning kid and his mother immediately called the police on you. You pulled him out of the pool."
The police? Shout out to Clown. Are we serious, bro? That's like, I would call that a Karen. Like, bro, if I saved a person from drowning,
But instead of thanking you, she slapped your hand away and started screaming that you had pushed him in. Before you could explain,
What?
everyone around the pool started filming you. Then the police arrived, grabbed you, and slammed you against the ground. They searched your
Are we
pockets, took your phone,
serious?
and found the kid's necklace inside your jacket. Somehow, it was now proof that you had attacked him. You kept pointing at the pool, but nobody listened. They dragged you toward the police car, while the mother followed behind, pretending to cry. Then the kid suddenly started laughing. You noticed he was secretly looking at his mother every few seconds. The police shoved you inside the car anyway, and just before they closed the door, you saw the kid drop something onto the ground. It was a tiny waterproof camera.
I
You
thought
immediately
bro
realized
pooped, bro. I actually thought bro pooped.
what was happening. While everyone was distracted, you had secretly recorded the entire pool area before jumping in. The footage showed the kid falling in by himself, you saving him and his mother throwing your wallet into the pool. The police watched the recording and she immediately ran. You chased her straight back to the pool.
Shout out
She
to
slipped into the water,
Giovanni.
and when she tried climbing out, you grabbed her bag and dumped everything inside into the pool. Her phone, wallet, keys, and car keys sank to the bottom while everyone watched. The same woman who tried to ruin your life was now screaming helplessly in the pool. You accidentally saved
That's
a drowning kid and his
crazy.
In this world, everyone is born with 3 glowing dots on their wrist. They are undos. If you make a mistake, you press a dot, and time rewinds
You could rewind time? That's insane, bro. I'm taking that.
by 1 hour. Leo was terrified of wasting his. He watched his classmates use theirs to cheat on tests, fix embarrassing moments, or undo a spilled coffee. But Leo hoarded his. He never took risks, never asked out his crush, and never followed his dreams. He wanted to save his undos for a real emergency. Years passed, and Leo became an old man, living a completely safe, boring life. He still had all
What is
3
bro?
dots
Oh,
glowing on his
hell
wrist.
nah. Restart that. What is that?
All 3 dots.
What is that?
It's glowing.
What is that? Bro, what is bro doing?
On his wrist. He was proud that he had never made a mistake. Then one afternoon, he met an old
The
woman in
heck?
a park. She was laughing loudly, telling wild stories,
heck,
and
guys?
practically glowing with joy. Leo looked at her wrist. She had 0 dots left. "You wasted them all," Leo said smugly. "You must have made so many mistakes." The woman smiled gently and shook her head. "I didn't use them to erase my mistakes. I used them to live my favorite moments twice." Leo froze. That's when he finally understood. The undos weren't meant to keep you safe from failure. They were a reminder that a life lived in fear is a life you can never get back. In this world, everyone is
Dang.
Ever since Adrian was
Guys, type 1 in the chat if you want a shout out and you subscribed. I think my chat is paused. It's like frozen right now. Because it's going too fast, so we'll have to wait a minute.
Ever since Adrian was a kid, he had an entity that no one else could see. Its name was Malk. Malk followed Adrian everywhere he went and could even talk to him. But there was always something strange about Malk. Every time Adrian tried to talk to another kid, Malk would float between them and tell Adrian to stay away. At first, Adrian was confused. The kid seemed nice enough, but Malk always insisted they would make fun of him, even try to hurt him. So Adrian trusted him. If Malk pointed at someone, Adrian walked away. If Malk stood in his way, Adrian turned around. Slowly, people stopped trying to be his friend, because every time someone tried tried talking to Adrian, he'd just walk away. Years passed like that. Adrian still had no friends, just Malk by his side. Sometimes Adrian wondered why Malk never wanted him to talk to anyone. He'd watch the other kids laugh together while he was always alone. Until one afternoon, he saw a boy sitting alone, crying. Malk
Thank you for the star.
He floated in front of him, trying to stop him, but the boy looked just as lonely as he felt. So for the first time, Adrian walked around Malk. The boy told him he'd been bullied for weeks and had no friends. Adrian told him everything would be okay, even bought him an ice cream. For the first time in years, nothing Malk warned him about happened. So Adrian started ignoring Malk. He talked to more people. He made real friends. Until one day, he noticed Malk.
Bro, why is my chat frozen? Hold on. I don't know what's going on. Oh, there we go. Now I see the chat. My bad. I see the chat now. Shout out to Loco.
Looked smaller. Adrian
subscribe right now if you
want
to shout out. Type one in the chat.
Every new friend Adrian made him disappear a little more. He was never trying to protect Adrian from people. He just didn't want to disappear and leave Adrian's side. And suddenly, Malk vanished completely. Ever since Adrian was a kid, he had an entity that no one else could see.
That's crazy.
$23,000 just disappeared from my bank account while my younger brother jumped in with his phone. We're going to be billionaires! In a shock, I double-checked my account, which had exactly 1 cent, as my brother proudly showed his Amazon order.
Dude,
I just bought a money printing machine. Snatching the phone from his hands, I yelled, "You actually spent all my college savings?"
Shout out to Isaac. Shout out to Christopher. Shout out to Millie.
No, bro, I didn't spend anything. I just invested it to make even more. After the courier handed the printing machine to my brother, I grabbed him by the collar. I want my $23,000 back for this damn thing. But he just shrugged. No refunds, I'm sorry, sir. As I got back inside, my brother was standing next to a mountain of cash. I told you we'd be billionaires. Totally shocked, I picked up one of the bills, and it looked exactly like the real ones. Wait, but this is illegal. You'll end up in jail doing that. Yet he gathered all the money into a bag and rushed outside.
Okay.
I'm going to buy a Lamborghini while you're crying.
A Lamborghini?
I immediately texted my friend. The time has come. 7 minutes later, an
Bro's
officer
just
brought my
wasting
brother
his
home. This
money.
criminal tried to use fake money and faces 13 years in prison. My brother's face turned pale with horror. Mr. Officer, please let me go. I won't do it again. Right then, I grabbed my brother and kicked him in the butt inside the house, while my friend who had been pretending to be the officer laughed.
Bro, if I were you, I'd send him to an orphanage.
An orphanage?
Just
oh, nah.
You're gonna fucking kill me, do it. I'm the script.
What the hell?
A stranger knocked on the door, and the wife opened it. "Please, can I speak to your husband?" She called him. The man spoke shakily. "Sir, I'm your neighbor. My wife is very sick. I need $1,000 for her treatment."
1,000? Bro just axes like he's gonna get it. I mean, you gotta be at least like, you gotta like be desperate. You gotta sound desperate. You gotta sound nice.
"I promise I'll pay you back by the weekend." Without asking much, the husband walked in, came back out, and said, "Here, pay me back in a week." 1 week passed, then a month, then 5. No sign of the man. The wife was angry. "Elvis, we're getting that money back today." They walked to the neighbor's house, but a different man opened the door. "Where's your brother?" the wife asked. "The one whose wife was sick." He looked confused. "I live alone. Just moved in a month ago." Back at home, she said, "We've been
Did they
scammed."
scam him? I think they scammed him.
"Elvis, how could you be so dumb?" Elvis replied softly, "I was only trying to help." Then days later, the doorbell rang. It was him, the same neighbor. "Sir, I came to return your money," he said. "I spent everything on her treatment, even got thrown out by the landlord, but I saved my salary for 4 months because I had to repay your kindness." The man was stunned. "You could have kept it. I wouldn't have found you," he said. But the neighbor replied, "If I didn't come back, you would have lost faith in humanity."
Shout out to
the husband's eyes filled with tears. He pushed the money back into the man's hands. "Keep it. You gave me something more valuable. You gave me back my faith in people. Because sometimes it's not what we give that matters, but what made us give so easily." A stranger knocked on the door. "I was watching the school talent show when the clown act came on stage and asked for a volunteer from the crowd. Half the theater raised their hands, but he pointed straight at me, sitting in the front row.
Oh,
he handed me 3 small metal
Bro's the chosen one, bro. Shout out to Win School.
balls to juggle. "Don't drop them," he whispered in my ear. "They're bombs. One hits the ground, it goes boom boom, and you die." Then he started laughing in my face. I laughed, thinking it was a joke, until he stepped back off the stage completely and left me standing there alone, with the crowd still watching. I started juggling, my hands shaking, the crowd clapping like it was part of the act. One ball came down slightly off, and I lunged sideways to catch it before it hit the floor. The crowd cheered louder. I kept the rhythm going, sweat running down my face, my arms burning from juggling for so long. I remembered the dunk tank set up near the entrance from earlier in the show, water still filled to the top. I stepped off the stage, still juggling, and ran toward it, weaving through the crowd as fast as I could without breaking rhythm once. People laughed and clapped, thinking this was still part of the trick. I reached the edge of the tank and, one at a time, dropped each ball straight down into the water instead of catching it again. Each one hit with a splash and went completely silent. No explosion, nothing at all happening after. I stood there, staring down at the water. I turned around to find the clown, and the stage behind me was already empty, the curtain still swaying slightly. I grabbed a nearby teacher and told her everything, pointing at the tank. She pulled the balls out with a long stick, and each one had a small timer taped to the inside. The numbers still counting down, even underwater.
Is it a bomb?
She grabbed her radio and called for everyone to clear the area immediately. I was watching the school.
It's crazy.
Have you ever seen such a La marque de vet.
What the hell?
This is the difference between kids and parents when the Wi-Fi goes out. First, there's the reaction. Kid, their Roblox freezes. They instantly panic. Refresh the game.
Yeah, I would panic, bro. I would be like, ah! Shout out to known as Gun Monkey. Thank you for the GOAT trophy. W Henny with the GOAT trophy. Thank you, Henny. W Henny in the chat with the GOAT trophy. Thank you, Henny. W Henny right now in the chat. Thank you so much for the GOAT trophy. Bro, W Henny. Thank you, Henny, for the $10 gift. This guy says so many gifts. W Henny in the chat. Spam W's right now. Shout out to Henny. Thank you for the GG Easy. Johan.
Hey, check the Wi-Fi. Then yell, Mom,
that's crazy.
The Wi-Fi
Thank
is gone.
You, bro.
Parent, they look at their phone, see there's no internet, and say, good, now you can finally get off that game. Like it doesn't even affect
the
them.
W.
Then there's what they do without it. Kid, they try everything. Play with old toys, walk around the house, stare at the ceiling. And after 10 minutes, they finally walk up to their parents and ask, so, what did people do before Wi-Fi? Parent, they smile and say, we went outside to play with friends. The kid looks at her completely shocked. Lastly, there's when the Wi-Fi comes back. Kid, they instantly run back to their room, open Roblox, and start playing again.
Bro's opening Roblox.
They suddenly realize when the Wi-Fi was gone, the house felt more lively. But now, it's completely quiet again. So, they walk over to the router and unplug it again. So like this video so your Wi-Fi never goes out. This is the... Are you gay or straight?
What the hell? What?
Everyone in this world is born with a glowing green restart button on their chest. You can press it once to rewind time and completely restart your life.
Rewind time and restart your life from age 5? Think of the tree gift.
From age 5, keeping all your adult memories. People used it instantly.
Oh, you could remember things and go back in time and redo things. Guys, would you do that? Would you take that risk or no? I would not. I really would not. Unless I'm in an emergency situation, then I would. But like, bro, I want to do that.
Instantly. They restarted to invest in stocks, fix embarrassing mistakes, or save lost loved ones. But Leo was a perfectionist. He wanted his second playthrough to be flawless. So he decided to treat his first life like a practice run. He never took life seriously. He lived in a cheap apartment,
Thank you for the hiding it.
And just spent 80 years taking notes on...
Guys, like and subscribe if you want a shout out. Guys,
on lottery numbers and business trends. He lived a completely miserable, lonely life, just waiting for the perfect time to hit the button. At 90 years old, laying on his deathbed, Leo smiled. It was finally time. He pushed the glowing green button on his chest.
Shout out to designer.
He woke up as a 5-year-old boy in his childhood bedroom. He jumped out of bed, thrilled to start his perfect life and use all his memories. But when he tried to remember the lottery numbers, his mind was blank. He couldn't remember the stocks. He couldn't remember anything from his past life.
Oh, nah. He just rewinded time for nothing. Bro, that sucks.
He looked at his chest, where a new rule was burned into his skin. Time restarts, but the soul must start fresh.
Nah,
he fell
he's
to
cooked.
his knees. He had completely wasted his only life, preparing
He's
for a future he couldn't
cooked.
even remember. Everyone in this world is
Are we
born with a
serious?
glowing green...
If a train just had one light, that glow...
I wasted 10 years in a bedroom. From 18 to 28, I didn't leave my apartment for more than groceries. Got bullied so bad, I stopped going outside. Then stopped trying...
Dang, bro doesn't even touch grass. Man. I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of like this guy, bro. I gotta touch grass. Hey!
Games 14 hours a day. Delivery food. My mom left food at the door every Sunday, and I'd wait until she left to open it because I couldn't face her. Watch the world through a screen while everyone I knew graduated, got married, built lives. I built nothing. At 28, my heart stopped. Cardiac arrest on the bathroom floor from a body I'd destroyed with a decade of nothing. Dead for 2 minutes. Woke up and my mom was asleep in the hospital chair. She spent 10 years leaving food at a door for a son who wouldn't open it while she was standing there. Last day as that person. First week I walked outside 15 minutes. Almost threw up from anxiety.
Shout out to
Second week,
Dakota.
30. Month 3, I stocked shelves. Month 6, I held conversations without shaking. 28 years old,
W.
starting the life most people start at 18. Everything from 10 years of isolation became fuel. Every mistake to avoid I'd already made from a chair. By 30, I managed the store. By 32, I owned one. I teach a class now for kids doing what I did. I wasted 10 years in a bedroom. From 18 to 28, I didn't leave my apartment.
I accidentally shrunk my dad.
Hey, Ben, do you want to... These 5...
When I was a kid, anything I imagined hard enough would come to life in front of me. And my parents
Bro
told me I was
just
special.
spawned a donut.
If I pictured a toy on my empty floor, it was there when I opened my eyes. If I
W.
imagined it snowing inside my room, the flakes would start falling from my ceiling. My mom and dad said I had a gift, and that I should only ever use it for good
Chat,
things.
would you use that power? I wouldn't. Like, shout out to Ron Goku. Like, I could spawn a robber. Like, if I'm thinking of a random story, let's say, like, a robber or something, I could literally spawn him in my house, and I can't change anything. Unless I think of a bazooka. Maybe I could. Maybe I think. Maybe I get a bazooka or something, bro. Shout out to Amber.
So I used it to make
Maybe,
my life
I don't know.
I imagined friends, and suddenly I had a whole group of them. I imagined a big brother who would protect me, and the next morning he was at the breakfast table. I imagined that my family was happy, and every fight
I don't
my parents
know
ever
if
had
I
simply
would.
stopped. For years, I thought I was the luckiest kid alive, with the best family anyone could ask for. Last week, for the first time, I tried to imagine something away instead of into being. I was angry, and I imagined my annoying big brother just disappearing. He vanished at dinner.
Oh,
mid-sentence,
nah.
And no one at the table reacted at all. My parents kept eating like the chair beside me had always been empty, so I tested it. I imagined my mother gone, and she blinked out where she stood.
Oh,
my
nah.
father did not look up. He did not ask where she went. That was when I understood that I had never made friends or family appear. I had imagined the people in this house, every single one of them, years ago. The real ones were gone, long before I was old enough to remember them. A scared little kid in an empty house had imagined a family, so he would not be alone. I was never a special kid with a gift, surrounded by people who loved me. I was a kid alone in an empty house who got very, very good at pretending he was not. And the day I stopped imagining them is the day I finally have to see the house as it really is. When I was a kid, anything I imagined...
This sucks.
In this world, everyone can see how many times you've lied before. One kid had lied 29 times.
29? Damn.
Another 68 times.
68. Nah, it could have said 67. Bro, ruined the moment. Thank you for the tree gift. Do I play GTA? I'm gonna buy the game. I play on my PS5. But
even a teacher had lied 184
I play
times.
on my
And
computer.
your number meant everything. A low number meant friends, trust, and respect. But a high number meant no friends and
444 times? What does bro even lie about? Like, what?
no trust. But Dylan's number was 0. Not a
Holy.
single lie in his entire life. And it was amazing. It gave him friends everywhere and people who trusted him with anything. So Dylan
This would make it easy for the police to, like, find people, you know? Like, they could just see at the top of the head how many times they lied. And they can see if it changes. Thank you for the laughing disco. W normal guy with the laughing disco. Thank you, normal guy. W normal guy in the chat, bro. Thank you, normal guy. W.
started judging everyone by their number. When his friends passed 100 lies, he stopped talking to them. Even his own dad, whose number was 200. Then there was Tyler. He had lied 1,528 times.
Damn.
Nobody sat with him.
Oh my god. W normal guy with the laughing disco, though. But holy.
Nobody
my
believed a
God.
word he said. Dylan even made fun of him for it, calling
What is
him the
even
real-life
going
Pinocchio.
on?
Until one day, a kid's phone got stolen, and everyone immediately pointed at Tyler. He looked down and said, "It was me." But right then, his number changed. Nobody
Oh my
noticed,
God.
except Dylan. The number only goes up when you lie. So why would Tyler lie about stealing a phone? Dylan couldn't stop thinking about it. So the next day, he found Tyler sitting alone and started a conversation. Tyler explained that his lies started when he was 7. His little brother broke their mom's favorite plate and started crying. So Tyler stepped in and took the whole blame for it. After that, he never stopped. Every kid about to get in trouble reminded him of his little brother. So he took the blame for them too. And by the time he noticed his number, it was already in the thousands. Now every
Dang.
time something happened, they just blamed him for it. Tears filled Dylan's eyes because he finally understood. He'd been misjudging Tyler his whole life. He looked at his number and saw a liar, but he never saw that one kid taking the fall for everyone else. In this world,
Crazy.
Our father yelled, "If I find you, I'll kill you." So I
What?
immediately told my little brother with sign language, "I'll distract him and you sneak up from behind." I sat down on
Okay.
a chair in the middle of the room to look cool. And
Thank you for the $2, Raffleet Halloween. Appreciate it, bro. Thank you for the 2. W Raffleet
Search up
Halloween.
La Peace.
Bro, I know about La Peace. Kais and I made a meme about it, bro. Thank you for the hiding gifts. I can't right out, bro. Thank you for the 2.
my brother hid behind the
I
couch.
know
When our
about
father
it,
opened the
bro.
door with a knife, a bucket of water was dumped on him, and I laughed as loud as I could. His face turned red with rage. You think that's
Oh,
enough?
nah. Bro looks like a tomato, bro. Thank you for the hiding gift. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the woof you. W Henny with the woof you. Thank you, Henny. W Henny with the woof you. Thank you so much, Henny. W Henny in the chat with the woof you. Thank you, bro. W Henny right now. Thank you, Henny, for the $20 gift. W Henny. This guy sent like 3 woof yous or 4. W Henny right now, guys. Thank you so much, Henny, for the woof you, bro. W Henny. Thank you, dude. W Henny.
Enough to stop me? He headed straight for me without looking
Shout out to
around. And just
Henny.
then, my
Thank
brother
you, bro.
knocked him to the ground from behind. I quickly handcuffed him and tied his legs with a rope. Meanwhile, my brother took the knife, and I noticed how his eyes looked hypnotized. That was a terrible sign, because that always happens to him when he's getting out of control. Our father hadn't seen this yet and laughed. "All right, boys, today's training was a 10 out of 10. I slowly leaned toward him and told him that my brother was having an episode. Our father looked closely at his face and whispered, "One wrong move now and we're dead. Go ahead with plan C."
Oh,
I
no.
nodded and carefully took out the syringe with the medication for my brother. But he noticed it and shouted, "Drop the syringe right now if you want to live." Despite his words, I began to slowly approach him while he continued to yell at me. As I got within a
Guys,
meter of him,
sub
he
up
tried to
if you
attack
want
me,
a
but I
shout out.
dodged at the last moment and knocked that little guy to the ground, injecting him with the medicine. My father smiled. "That's why we
Thank you
use
for
a
the
plastic
treat
knife."
gift.
Our father yelled, "If I find you, I'll kill you."
So this local music.
My name is the...
We were sitting in the living room watching.
I
A young man was sitting quietly on a bus when suddenly an old man stood in front of him, furious. He started cursing and shouting, "Get up, give me your seat." As the young man stood up to offer it, the old man slapped him again and again. He yelled, "Kids today have no respect. How dare you sit while I'm standing? I regret living in this generation." But the young man said nothing. He just stood there, calm and silent. At the next stop, he quietly got off the bus and walked away. Seconds later, the old man collapsed, a heart attack, dead. Later, the old man's family sued the young man, asking for $50,000, claiming he had triggered the death. But in court, the bus CCTV was reviewed. It showed the young man never fought back, never raised his voice, and stayed completely calm. All charges were dismissed. Some later believed the old man knew his time was near and tried to start a fight, perhaps thinking his family could benefit if something happened to him. But the plan backfired because the young man didn't react. He stayed calm. Learn to be silent. It might save you from danger. A young man was sitting quiet.
Have you ever realized that school...
The kid I'm babysitting showed me a room his parents said...
Holy, this guy is not a kid. That's like, that's not even a person, bro. That's like an alien. Look how small he is. They were the treat gift. Even a baby would be bigger than that. Well, not really. I'm not sure about that, but...
It doesn't exist. Asked where the bathroom was. He said upstairs. Not the one behind the bookshelf. I pushed the bookshelf. It slid on a track. Behind it, 14 monitors showing live feeds of every house on the street. Kitchens, bedrooms, bathrooms. The kid walked in and said, "That's Daddy's workroom. He watches the neighbors." Called the mom. She said, "What bookshelf?" Came home and collapsed against the wall. She didn't know. Called 911 while I took the kid to his room so he didn't hear her screaming. Cops pulled footage from the servers. 3 years of recordings, 14 homes, bedrooms, bathrooms, families with children, thousands of hours.
Why is he recording
servers for money his wife never saw into accounts she never knew existed. The dad came home to 4 squad cars and walked in like nothing was wrong. Saw the bookshelf open and ran. Didn't make it to the driveway. 2 officers brought him down on the lawn, handcuffed on the grass of the same street he'd been watching for 3 years while every neighbor came outside. A detective said, "You may have uncovered one of the largest criminal cases in this county." His wife sat on the porch holding her son while he was loaded into a car. The kid said, "Where's Daddy going?" She couldn't answer. I sat with them until her sister arrived. I never babysat again. The kid I'm babysitting showed me a room his parents said...
For 2 years, I had been away from home.
My parents always told me never to open the door for strangers. One day, someone knocked and said they were my dad.
Bro, Chad, that literally sounded like someone knocked on my door. Wait, let's replay that. Look, tell me if you guys hear it. Shout out to Muhammad.
They told me never to open the door for strangers. One day, someone knocked and said they were my dad.
What?
My real dad was at work. I knew because he texted me an hour before. I looked through the peephole. A man in my dad's jacket. Same height, same haircut. He said he forgot his keys and asked me to let him in. I told him I'd call Dad to check. He said his phone died at work. That's why he couldn't call ahead. I didn't open the door. He knocked again. He said my mom's name. Said the name of our dog. Said the code to the garage. He knew
knows everything.
I still didn't open the door. I texted my real dad. "Are you home right now?" He texted back instantly. "No, why? I'm still at work." I told him someone was outside claiming to be him. My dad told me to lock every door and call the police immediately. I locked the deadbolt, the chain, the back door too. The man outside stopped knocking. I looked through the peephole again. He was gone. The police arrived 8 minutes later. They walked the perimeter of the house. In the backyard, behind the shed, they found a duffel bag. Inside was a second jacket, identical to my dad's, a wig, and a notebook. Pages of handwritten notes about our family, my dad's work schedule, my mom's name, our dog's name, the garage code, weeks of information. The officer asked how the man could have known all of it. My dad went pale.
Yo, what's up, Dak Coco? What are we doing? Just reacting to Roblox stories now, bro.
3 weeks earlier, his work bag had been stolen from his car.
Join the council? Why do you guys keep saying to join the council, bro? What?
Everything written down.
Thank you for the hiding.
They never found the man, but we changed the garage code that night. And we got a new dog name. Nobody outside our family knows. My parents always told me never to open the door for strangers.
Shout out to John.
Most people didn't notice this, but when...
What the hell?
Ever since Isaac was a kid, he could see the spirits of the dead. They were in classrooms, on benches, even walking down the street.
The spirits of the dead? Chat, if you were able to choose to have this power, would you choose to have it? I would not. That would, like, be scary, bro. Like, imagine being able to see people who died, like their spirits.
And at first, it terrified him. Some of the spirits would follow him around. Others just stared, never looking away.
Yeah,
it felt like
bro.
They were always watching him. Like
I'm
they wanted to hurt
okay.
him. He tried to ignore them, but no matter what, they were always there. Eventually, he couldn't take it anymore, so he stopped leaving his room altogether. But one day, his mom made him go outside. And even though he was scared, he had no choice. But this time,
I was gonna touch grass.
one spirit stood out from the rest. A young kid sitting alone on a bench, like he was waiting for someone. While every other spirit drifted around aimlessly, he never moved. So for the first time, Isaac walked up to a spirit and asked who he was waiting for. The kid looked up. My mom. She used to pick me up from this bench every day. But when I died...
So some spirits are good and some spirits are bad. I don't know. I would choose a habit. I don't know.
I never got to say goodbye, so I just wait here, hoping she comes back. Isaac felt devastated, so he promised he'd find her. It wasn't easy, but he finally found her. He told her that her son
Guys,
had been
subscribe right now if you want a shout out.
waiting for her every single day. She broke down crying, and together they went to the bench. She sat down where her son always waited, and even though she couldn't see him, she told him everything she never got to say. How much she loved him, how much she missed him. And now that he'd finally heard it, the boy slowly began to fade away. Right before he disappeared, he looked at Isaac and whispered, "Thank you." After that, Isaac saw the spirits differently. They just needed his help, so that's what he did. He made them feel seen. He gave them the goodbyes they never got, and one by one, they faded away. That's when Isaac finally understood. The spirits were never haunting him. They were waiting for him. The only one who could finally let them rest in peace.
Ever since
Isaac was a kid,
In this world, everyone is born with a flame above their
A flame?
head. Nobody
Bro,
knows exactly
what?
what it means,
Why
but
a
everyone
flame?
agreed on one thing. A calm flame meant a safe person, and the brighter it burned, the more people stayed away. Most people had a small glow, warm, quiet. But a kid named Silas had a flame so bright it hurt
Oh my
to
god.
look at. Kids crossed the hallway to avoid him. Teachers moved him to the back of the room. If it burned that hot, something had to be wrong with him. So Silas sat alone. He ate alone. He kept his head down, hoping it would
Dang.
fade. It never did. Then one afternoon, the school counselor pulled him aside. Everyone trusted her. Her flame was the calmest in the building.
W.
She told him a flame that bright wasn't normal.
Shout out
that
to
he needed
Nate.
to be
Stay with the
evaluated.
floating
Silas
heart.
looked at her and said what he'd been holding back. Your flame isn't calm because you're good. It's calm because you've gotten good at hiding. Her flame
Oh, roasted.
flickered, dimmed, went out. Every kid in the hallway saw it. She'd been
Oh.
filing false reports on kids for years, getting them removed, getting paid for it. No one ever questioned her
Paid?
because her flame looked safe.
She just wants
That's
money.
when Silas finally understood. A bright flame was never a warning. It was the only thing in the room telling the truth. In this world,
Dang.
The bully picked up the
a teenager snatched my bag of money meant as a gift for my daughter and started running away. I tried to catch up with him,
Oh,
but after
nah.
3 minutes, I was exhausted, watching him disappear behind a corner. When I got home, my daughter ran up to me excited. "Daddy, do you remember you
Give me the
promised to buy
thumbs
me a
up.
new phone?" So I lied to her that I would give it to her tonight. She happily ran off to the kitchen to celebrate her birthday, while I stood there about to cry. When I went into the kitchen, I saw a boy wearing the same clothes as the one who had robbed me, but I had no proof. Just then, my
Robbed
wife
him?
rushed up to me and said that all our jewelry was missing from the jewelry box, but no
Oh,
one outside
nah.
our family could have known. I looked at my daughter and noticed she was staring back with a sad face. The boy I suspected also looked at her strangely, and they both stood up from the table. While my wife went to make a phone call, the two of them approached me. My daughter said, "An hour ago, my friend and I saw Mom taking all the jewelry and hiding it." I immediately ran to our master bedroom and saw an empty jewelry box next to the clothes I'd been robbed in. Just then, I heard someone shout from the window,
has your husband left already?
I hid behind
Oh,
the bed
nah.
and saw a man climbing through our window. My wife walked up to him and said, "Are you crazy? What if my husband finds out we robbed him?"
Your cornball husband won't do anything.
He replied. But I smiled because I've been doing
Bro,
martial arts for
what?
the past 17 years and have always been waiting for a moment like this. 5 seconds later, that guy and my wife were lying unconscious on the floor. A teenager
Oh.
snatched my bag of money meant
Look, these two
Get out the way!
My mom worked 3 jobs so I could go to a school I didn't belong in. She died driving to her night shift, fell asleep. I was 17
R.I.P.
with nothing, dropped out, stopped eating, sat in her chair for 3 weeks watching the wall.
R.I.P. in the chat to the
All
mom.
she used to come home to. Wanted to disappear. Almost did. Then I
Dang.
met her. Bus stop at 1 a.m. She said, "You look terrible." I said, "I am terrible." She laughed. First laughter I'd heard in a month. Talked until sunrise on a bench neither of us could afford to leave. She had a dream. Leave the city. Start clean. She needed money. I needed a reason to exist. She became mine. Got a job. Then 2. Wasn't enough. The city takes faster than you earn. Her dream was dying behind her eyes, 1 bill at a time. So I did something I can't take back. Walked into a bank with a gun and walked out with $140,000. Drove to her apartment. Bag on the table. Leave tonight. Don't tell me where. She opened it. Looked at the money. Looked at me. She knew. She said, "Come with me." I said, "If I'm with you, they find you too." She left at midnight. I sat in her empty apartment until the sirens came. Door off the hinges. Face on carpet that still smelled like her. The officers came in and arrested me for life, but at least she was safe living her dream. My mom
W. Thank you for the air travel. W. Henny with the air travel. Thank you, Henny. W. Henny with the air travel gift. Thank you for the $10 gift. Can we get a W in the chat for Henny? Thank you so much, Henny. W. Henny in the chat right now. Thank you so much, bro, for the air travel. W. Henny. Thank you, Henny. W. Henny, bro. Thank you, dude. W. Henny. Shout out to Henny. What? Oh. Wait.
Ever since Max was a kid, he could move anything with his mind. He could float his phone right into his hand from across the room.
Float his phone? I would have that power. Chat, would you have that power? Being able to like float anything near
He
you?
could even float up into the air just to impress the other kids. He thought he was the luckiest kid alive. But one day, a kid at school pushed him to the ground and laughed at him. Max got angry, and before he even realized it, everything around him started floating. People were lifted off their feet, and the kid who shoved him was thrown into the wall. Max froze, staring at what he'd done.
Yeah, I would take this power. This is like easy, bro. They were hiding.
That's when he realized the truth. His power didn't follow his hand.
Like, this is easy to get into fights. Like, you could beat them up. Think for the flower. Think for the dollar, Jennifer. W Jennifer with the dollar. Think for the hiding if nugget.
It followed his feelings. When he was angry, everything lost control. When he was calm, everything moved gently. After that day, everything changed. People were scared of him. They thought he was a monster, and the power he once loved became the thing he hated the most. Then one afternoon, a girl tripped in the cafeteria. People started laughing. Max almost ignored it. But this time, something in him changed. He walked over and floated her gently back onto her feet. She looked at him and smiled. For the first time, using his power made him happy. When he got home, he couldn't stop thinking about that girl's smile. So he started using his power to see that smile again. He carried an elderly woman's groceries all the way to her door. He caught a kid's ice cream cone right before it hit the ground. And slowly, Max stopped hating his power. Because every time he helped someone...
W, bro's helping people with his power. Thank you for the let him cook gift. W, Henny, with the let him cook gift. Thank you, Henny. Shout out to Henny, bro. Thank you, Henny, for the let him cook gift. Thank you so much, Henny. W, Henny.
When he saw that same smile, that's when Max finally understood. His power was never meant to be used for himself. It was meant to help others when they needed it most. Ever since Max was a kid...
Bro, what?
My daughter... My daughter was killed by a stray bullet walking home from school. She was
R.I.P. Thank you for the tree gift. Thank you for the hiding gift.
14. Police said
R.I.P. to the daughter.
We're investigating. 6 months. No arrests, no suspects.
Thank you for the high five, Caitlin or Catlin. W. Catlin with the high five.
Returning calls by month 3, so I found them myself. I knew the block. Got a job at a corner store 2 blocks from where they operated. Swept floors, stocked shelves. Became the kind of man nobody notices because noticing me served no purpose. Within a month, they came in daily, buying blunts and energy drinks, talking like I wasn't there because to them I was furniture. I memorized names, faces, schedules, who drove what, who answered to who. I heard them talk about the night.
Oh, nah. Bro's investigating. Thank you for the stay hydrated. W. Henny with the stay hydrated. Thank you, Henny. W. Henny with the stay hydrated. Thank you for the flower, Maya. W. Henny with the stay hydrated. Thank you, Henny. W. Henny. And thank you for the dollar, Jennifer. W. Jennifer with the dollar.
She died, laughing. One said, wrong place, wrong time, like she was weather. Like my daughter was a forecast that didn't concern them. Recorded everything on a phone taped under the register. 4 months of conversations, transactions, plates. Every night I went home and built a file. Organized it better than any detective because no detective lost what I lost. Month 5. I walked into the FBI with a hard drive and said, the gang that killed my daughter is on this. Every name, every face, 4 months. Agent opened the first file and said, how? I said, I swept their floors and they forgot I had ears. 14 arrests, 3 for murder. My daughter was killed by a stray bullet walking home.
Before every show, a chess master would...
I got beat up every day for 3 years.
Why is bro getting beat up?
I never threw a punch back. Just covered my face and waited for it to stop. After school, I'd haul crates for my mom's fish market until midnight. 80-pound boxes from boats to the truck since I was 11. Arms built from labor, not a gym. One afternoon, 3 guys cornered me, and a man walking past said, hit him back. I said, I don't know how. He said, you lift 80-pound crates every night. You know how. Your mind just never gave permission. He owned a boxing gym 4 blocks away. I showed up next day. Put me on the heavy bag. First punch, the bag swung so hard it ripped off the ceiling. He said, how long you been on the docks? I said, 6 years. He said, your body's been training since 11. Nobody told it yet. After 8 months of training, I had my first fight. Once I stepped in the ring, I almost threw up. Other kid was taller, faster with 6 fights. I had 0. Bell rang and I froze. He hit me twice. I tasted blood. Something broke open. Not anger. Permission. I threw 1 punch. He dropped. Ref counted 10, but it was over at 2. Coach said, that's 6 years of crates in 1 fist. I fought 30 more times. Won all 30 and was crowned the undefeated champion. I got beat up every day.
W. Guys, subscribe right now. If you want a shout out, let's hit 181K maybe. Thank you for the GG Easy.
Where my eel? Gorillas.
What the hell? Thank you for the $2. Riptide. Where my eel? Where my ear? Gorillas? What? Thank you for the $2 though, Riptide. W Riptide with the 2. Thank you, bro. W.
If you shot a super...
Release the pop.
Thank you.
On Christmas Eve, I woke up to a loud thud in the living room, and I crept downstairs
That's a
expecting
light
to catch
tech
Santa
kid.
putting presents under the tree. A man in a Santa suit stood by our fireplace, but he was not leaving gifts. He was unplugging our TV and stuffing it in a bag. I froze.
Bro's taking the TV? Nah, bro's not Santa. Bro's Banta. Bro's the evil version of Santa taking the gifts. Oh, nah.
He was on the stairs, and that was when I noticed his boots were covered in mud, and his Santa beard was
Give her the tree gift.
He had climbed down our chimney, but not to bring anything. He was here to take everything, while my family slept upstairs. I backed up 1 stair, and it creaked, and the fake Santa spun around and locked his eyes right onto me in the dark. He smiled, put a finger to his lips, and told me good little kids go back to bed and forget what they saw tonight.
Oh,
Instead,
nah.
I turned
Evil
and bolted up the
Santa,
stairs,
bro.
And I heard his heavy
He's the
boots pounding
Grinch?
up the
Oh, yeah,
steps
the
right behind me.
Grinch.
I flew into my parents' room and slammed the door, and my dad jumped up as the fake Santa threw his weight
It's a
against it.
Grinch,
My dad
bro.
held the door shut and yelled for my mom to call the police, while the man slammed into it from the hallway. The fake Santa realized we were calling for help, so he gave up on the door and ran back down the stairs. From the window, we watched him try to climb back up the chimney, but he got stuck halfway with
Bro
half of
got
our stuff.
stuck.
The police pulled up and caught him wedged in our
Bro
chimney,
cannot
still in
fit.
a muddy Santa suit. He had been dressing as Santa to rob houses all over town on Christmas Eve, when every family
Dang.
was fast asleep. He knew no kid who woke up would be scared of a man in a Santa suit, so nobody ran until it was too late. And every Christmas Eve since, I stay awake by the fireplace, just in case another Santa comes down the wrong chimney. On Christmas Eve,
W. One.
Scale of 1. If you shot this guy.
In this
Okay, right
in
here.
this world, everyone is born with a book that writes itself as you live, and everyone could read it.
What? Oh, anyone could read it? I don't know about that. Shout out to Moved. Guys, we gotta hit 181K, so subscribe right now if you want to shout out and type 1 in the chat once you sub.
Somewhere in the pages is a mark, a dark line across the exact moment everything went wrong. Most people's marks sit in their 20s or 30s. A divorce, a loss, a betrayal. But a kid named Esmer had his mark on page 1, the very first sentence. Everyone who opened his book closed it immediately. If everything went wrong that early, there was nothing worth reading
It's a
after.
job
Teachers
hard.
skimmed past him. Foster families returned him. Nobody wanted a story that started broken. So Esmer carried the book against his chest and stopped letting anyone open it. Then one afternoon, a girl sat next to him and asked to see it. He told her there was no point. She opened it anyway. She saw the mark on page 1, a mother who left the hospital without him. She didn't close
Such
it.
a
She kept
AK.
turning, page after page after page. Every page after the mark was full. Him learning to walk in a group home, teaching himself to read from signs on the bus, giving his coat to a younger kid during his first winter alone. She looked up at him. Your book isn't empty. Esmer stared at her. Nobody ever made it past page 1. The mark was never where his story ended. It was where it started, and no one had ever read far enough to find that out. In this world,
Oh, nah.
everyone is born.
I was getting a haircut when the barber pulled a knife and said he wanted to try a new type of haircut. He pressed
What do you mean new type of haircut? Bro, the new type of haircut is like, bro, what?
the knife to my neck, and his
That's
eyes
pretty
turned
good.
red. I grabbed his hand with
That's
both hands
crazy.
and shoved it away, and jumped out of the chair and stood up. He tried to grab me again, and I shoved the chair into his legs, and he
Dang.
fell down. The knife
Bro's the evil barber.
dropped, and I kicked it under the counter and ran for the front of the shop. He didn't chase me. He stayed on the floor, and his eyes faded back to normal, like nothing had happened at all. I stopped near the door and looked back, and a woman sweeping near the counter bent down to check what I'd kicked under there. She reached under the counter and pulled the knife out, turning it over in her hand, curious. Her eyes turned red the second her fingers touched the
Oh,
handle.
nah.
She stood up straight and looked directly at me, the knife at her side. I backed toward the door fast, my hand finding the handle
He has
without
to
looking.
leave.
The barber on the floor pushed himself up, eyes still normal, confused, looking between me and the woman like he had no idea what was
What
happening
the
either.
hell?
The woman walked toward me slowly, knife raised, and I pulled the door open, backing outside onto the sidewalk. She stopped right at the doorway,
Okay.
like she couldn't step past it, and stood there staring at me through the glass without moving any further. I
Oh,
turned and
nah.
ran down the street, checking behind me twice.
They're
She was
monsters, bro. They're secret monsters, bro.
still standing in the doorway, knife in hand, watching me the whole
Oh,
way.
nah.
Then she turned to the barber, standing in the shop, lifting the knife towards him. The barber screamed and begged for mercy, but it was
He's
too late.
cooked.
I was getting a haircut when the barber pulled a knife.
This surveillance.
This man had 5 months to live and needed $1 million
5 months.
for a treatment he could never afford. But when he got home, he suddenly found envelopes full of money in his mailbox.
Who gave him the money? What?
Carter was confused because he had no friends or family who could have
Yeah.
sent it. But it got worse the next day. A bag with $1 million was left at his door.
$1
He felt like he
million
was in danger.
dollars?
Like what if it was mafia money delivered to the wrong address? But it was just
Who cares, bro? I would just take the money. If it's delivered to me, I'm gonna use it. Like, if I was in this condition, I would use it. Chat. Type 1 in the chat if you would use it. Type 2 if you wouldn't. I would use it.
enough to pay for the surgery. So 17 minutes later, everything was paid. After several months of treatment, he was completely healthy. And when he finally got home from the hospital, he noticed a bullet on the table. That was a typical mafia sign that they were going to kill him. So for the next week, Carter lived in terror. But on the 7th day, he heard a knock at the door. It was an old man holding a gun. He walked into the house silently and sat down on the sofa. Carter just stood there with his eyes closed, preparing to die. But the stranger pointed the gun at him and ordered him to sit down. He introduced himself as Edward. He was the one who left the money by the door and then the bullet on the
Edward left the money.
table. Carter listened in silence while
Who is
carefully
he,
reaching
though?
for the pistol behind his back. Edward didn't notice and continued saying that he had cancer just like Carter. He mentioned the doctors had also
Thank you for
given
the
him only a
treat,
few
yeah.
months to live. And at that very moment, Carter pointed the gun at him. He revealed he had been healthy all along. He knew that Edward owned the hospital where he had been
What?
treated and that all his diseases were fake. For the past 14 years, Edward had been giving patients
faked
false
it all?
diagnoses. He just likes to watch people who are terrified after hearing that they will die from cancer in a few months. The
Give
next
me the
second, a
gold
police
coin.
squad rushed into the house. Edward jumped up from the couch, aiming to shoot Carter. He pulled the
What?
trigger, but nothing happened. During his treatment, Carter had sneaked into Edward's office and removed all the
Edward's
bullets.
6'7".
This man had 5 months to live and
Nah. What a plot twist.
I saved 3 months to take this girl to Disneyland. First real date. We walked through the gates and I felt like the main character. Near the roller coaster, my bully walked up, looked at my date and said, "You're way too pretty for this guy." She laughed.
Oh, hell no.
He said, "Come ride the Ferris wheel with me." She looked at me, then him, and walked away. I stood holding
Bro,
2 pairs
what?
of mouse ears, watching my date disappear with the guy who
Is it that easy to like just do that? Like, bro, what? Shout out to
me
Maria.
into lockers for 3 years. I went home
Shout out
and
to
didn't sleep,
Mark.
but I didn't cry. I planned.
Guys, subscribe right now. Let's see if we can end the stream with 80,700 subs.
His sister went to the school across town. He was overprotective to the point where no guy would go near her. I found her on social media. Didn't message right away. Waited 2 weeks. Liked a photo. She liked one back. Commented something funny. She replied. We started talking. She was nothing like him.
Okay.
Smart. Actually funny. Kind in a way that made me forget why I started talking to her. By month 2, I wasn't doing it for revenge. I genuinely liked her. We went on a date. Then another. By month 4, we were official. I picked her up and her brother opened the door. His face went through 6 emotions in 3 seconds. He said, "What are you doing here?" His sister walked past him, grabbed my hand and said, "He's with me." He looked at me, then our hands. I smiled at him. Same smile he gave me when he took my date. He knew exactly what it meant. We've been together a year. Sunday dinners at their house are the most uncomfortable 2 hours of his week. And the best 2 hours of mine. I saved 3 months to take the...
Shout out to Kelly. That's crazy.
I was visiting my wife's grave late at night when I noticed a man in a long coat standing across the cemetery, staring right at me. I tried to ignore him, but every time I looked up from her headstone, he had moved a little bit closer to me. He never made a sound. He just stepped between the graves, closing the distance while keeping his eyes locked on me. I called out and asked what he wanted, but he did not answer. He just reached into his coat and kept walking toward me. That was when I noticed he was standing between me and the only gate, cutting off my way back to the parking lot. I stood up slowly and started down a different row of graves, and behind me, I heard his footsteps speed up. I broke into a run through the headstones, and I could hear him crashing through the grass right behind me in the dark. I ducked behind a large stone monument and held my breath, and his footsteps slowed as he lost sight of me. I put my phone on silent and quietly texted the police my location while crouched behind the stone. Through a gap in the monument, I watched him pull a rope from his coat, and I knew he had done this before. He walked right past my hiding spot, and the second his back was turned, I sprinted toward the low fence. I threw myself over the fence into the street and waved down the first car I saw until it stopped for me. The police caught him an hour later, and in his coat they found rope and IDs belonging to 3 missing people. He had been hunting people who visited graves alone at night when the cemetery was empty and no one would hear. And the only reason I made it home to my kids was because I ran the second I saw him block the only way out. I was visiting A firefighter carried me out of my burning house when I was 9. The whole town still calls him the man who saved my life. They're right that there was a fire. They're wrong about who I needed saving from. That night, the alarms went off at 2 a.m. The hallway was already full of smoke when my parents reached my room, and he was already there, in our doorway. He didn't search for me. He walked straight to my bed in the dark, like he already knew which room was mine, before a single truck turned onto our street. He carried me out and got a plaque for it. The station hung my rescue on the wall by the door. My mom kept his number saved at the top of her phone for 9 years. When she tells the story, she still cries. For 9 years, he was my hero. He's the reason I'm alive. That's the part I still can't get out of my head. Then another house burned, 3 streets over, and he pulled a kid out of that one too. Same hero, same award. So I started counting. 11 fires in 9 years. He was first on scene at every one. Twice. Dispatch logged him reporting the fire before anyone living there had called it in. You can only beat the 911 call to a fire if you already know it's coming. I took it to the fire marshal. He wasn't going to ruin a hometown hero over a teenager's spreadsheet. He told me to be careful saying things like that about the man who carried me out. 2 days later, the firefighter showed up at our door, just to check in. He looked at me a beat too long. So I stopped talking and started pulling the footage. He couldn't stop posting himself. His helmet cam, every rescue, up on his own.
Dang, bro, 670,000 subscribers. He has 67 subscribers.
Page for the likes. Every video starts with the fire already burning. He's racing in. The timestamps are the problem. In all 11, his camera switches on minutes before the first call ever reached dispatch. He wasn't arriving early. He was waiting for it to catch. He carried a 9-year-old out of a fire, so the whole town would watch him do it. They arrested him at the next awards ceremony, in front of everyone who came to say thank you. A firefighter...
Facebook Mark.
Reese.
I borrowed my uncle's car to drive to a friend's house because mine was in the shop. 20 minutes in, I got pulled over for a broken tail light. The cop asked if he could search the vehicle. I said sure because I had nothing to hide. He checked the back seat, then popped the trunk. He took one look and jumped back so fast he almost fell. His hand went straight to his holster. He looked at me, then back at the trunk and yelled into his radio for backup. I walked to the back of the car and looked in. There was what looked like a human body wrapped in clear plastic with
body?
Face visible. I felt my legs give out. 4 squad cars showed up in under 3 minutes. They threw me face down on the highway and cuffed me so tight I lost feeling in my hands. I kept saying it's my uncle's car. I don't know what that is, but nobody listened. A forensic team arrived and started photographing the trunk. They drove me to the station and put me in a holding cell. I sat there for 3 hours.
Thank you for the $2 tags. 676.
676767676767. Do you know my friend Spiky?
I think I don't, But thank you for the $2. I don't recognize the name Spiky. Thank you for the $2 though. W.
Hours convinced my uncle was a murderer and I was going to prison for it. Then I heard his voice in the hallway laughing. It turns out my uncle is a special effects artist for horror movies and the body is a $6,000 silicone prop he was transporting to a film set. I borrowed my uncle's car to drive to a friend's house because mine was in the...
I was home alone at night when the power suddenly cut out,
6'7".
and a second later someone started banging on my front door.
Oh,
I looked through
no.
the window and saw a police officer on my porch, telling me there was a gas leak, and I had to evacuate. Something felt off, because every other house
Thank
on
you for
our
the
street
gifts.
still had power. Only mine had gone completely dark. The officer kept telling me to open the door and come outside right now before the house became dangerous. I said I was going to call the station to confirm, and through the door, his friendly voice went flat and cold. He said there was no time for that, and he started jiggling the door handle, trying to get it open himself.
Nah.
That was when I noticed his uniform had no badge and no name tag, just a plain shirt that looked almost right. I backed away.
Thank you for the $2. Tags. W tags with the $2. Thank you, Tag.
He is a 67676767676767 scary 67
6'7". Thank you for the $2. W tags.
And quietly
Thank
called
you.
911 from my cell, whispering that a fake cop was trying to get inside. The dispatcher told me to hide and stay quiet, and that units were still several minutes away. The man must have heard me, because he stopped knocking and slowly walked around the side of the house. I ran upstairs and locked my bedroom door, but I heard glass shatter as he broke a window downstairs. His footsteps moved through my dark house, slow and calm,
Shout out to
checking one
Charlie.
room at a time as he came closer. I pushed my dresser against the door, but he reached my room and threw his whole weight against it again and again. The door cracked open just as I finally heard sirens turn onto my street in the distance.
Oh,
He
no.
grabbed what he came for and climbed back out the broken window, seconds before the police pulled in.
Thank
And
you
they
for
never
the
caught him,
treat,
so I still sleep with every light on, because I know one night he might come back to finish it. I was home alone at night when the power...
You would wish to have a best friend like this because this high schooler can't...
Hold up.
Here are the top
I was born super short, so every coach since I was 10 said, too short for basketball. Heard it so many times it stopped sounding like an opinion and started sounding like a challenge. Cut at 12. Coach said, come back when you grow. Never grew. Built everything height can't give you instead. Speed so fast tall kids' heads were still turning when I was past
Damn.
them. Handle so
Shout
low
out to
their
John.
6-foot frames had to bend in half to reach the ball, and by the time they got down, I was gone. Court vision that saw passes 3 seconds early, because when you're shortest on the court, you see under and between things tall players can't see over their own shoulders. Tried out every year. Cut at 12. Cut at 13. Made it at 14 because the coach ran out of reasons when I crossed up his starting point guard so bad the kid
Bro's so good at
fell
basketball.
on a dry floor. First game, nobody
Bro's gonna be the next LeBron, bro.
guarded me. What's the short kid gonna do? 30 points. Second game, they put
Shout
their
out to
tallest
my
on.
brother.
Went between his legs twice first quarter. He asked off. Junior year, a scout came for the center. 6 feet 8. D1 prospect. I scored 38. Scout asked, who's the little one? Coach said, the kid I cut twice. Senior year, averaged 32. Every team game planned for me, and I still scored because you can't scheme for someone who operates in spaces your height won't let you reach. Reporter said, what do you tell people who say you're too short? I said, look at the scoreboard. I was born super short, so every coach...
Sunday.
A stranger approached me offering $1 million in cash,
$1
but
million?
I just shoved him away and laughed in his face. You see, 6
Why would you shove him away? Chat, would you accept $1 million? I don't know, actually.
days ago, I made a bet with my best friend. Not a single word for a whole week, and loser pays $100. Today was the last day, and no way I'd lose over some obvious setup. But this evening, when my wife saw a female coworker giving me a ride home, she immediately asked why I was late. Her face was dead serious. I easily figured out my idiot friend had somehow gotten to her, so I patted her on the head and just went to my room. After this, I texted my friend, have my $100 ready tomorrow, lil bro, and he replied, we'll
Shout out
see.
to
Just then,
John.
my wife noticed me smiling at my phone. The moment I saw her, she burst into tears and ran to her room. For a second, I thought maybe she really does suspect me of cheating because of that ride, but then I just laughed. This is 100% my idiot friend put her up to it. When I walked into the hallway, I saw my wife packing her bags in tears. She said she knew I was cheating and that she was leaving, so I just smiled and helped her pack. When she walked out, I texted my friend again. Your traps are so obvious, he replied with question marks. The next morning time was up and I could finally talk. When I met my friend, I told him it was an easy win. He handed me the $100 and I asked him how he got my wife to leave me and how he set up the man who offered me $1 million. He looked at me strangely and said he hadn't done any of that. Then he asked if I meant the billionaire from the news giving away $1 million to
billionaire?
anyone who talked to him first.
What?
Turns out I lost $1 million and my wife, but at
He
least I won the
literally
bet against
lost
my
$1
idiot
million.
friend and made an easy $100. A stranger approached me offering $1 million.
Shout out to Conrad.
Ever
That's
since Levi was
crazy.
a kid, every time he fell asleep, he woke up in someone else's body.
What?
And for one day, he had to live their life. One night, Levi woke up as a rich man with everything
A rich man? Guys, if you had the option to have this power, would you have it? I would.
money could buy. The next,
Why not?
a poor man who could barely afford food. Another night, he woke up as a kid his age, whose father had just died. He spent that entire day at the funeral crying. The next morning, Levi...
But wait. I would take the power, but if I have the same memory as a person, then I wouldn't take it.
Woke up in his own bed, still
Not at
crying
all.
over a funeral that wasn't even his. All Levi
And if I can't go back to my normal self, then, bro, it's over.
Was to wake up as himself and stay that way.
Like,
But
then
every
I
morning
wouldn't
he still
take
had
it.
to wake up and go back to his own life. And his life had problems too. A bully who made fun of him every single day. Levi couldn't stand him. Until one night, Levi woke up in the bully's body. At first, everything seemed normal. The bully had the newest games, the coolest clothes. But then, Levi went downstairs. The bully's parents were fighting. Their fridge was completely empty. And that whole day, Levi had to go to school hungry. That's when he realized the kid who acted the toughest had it the hardest at home. The next morning, Levi woke up different. If the bully was hiding all that, what was everyone else hiding? So when he saw the quiet kid sitting alone, he sat beside him, because maybe he was dealing with things at home too. And instead of hating the bully like he always did, he quietly left a sandwich on his desk, because he remembered the empty fridge. Little by little, Levi went from having no friends to being surrounded by them. Even the bully became one. That's when Levi finally understood. The curse was never trying to hurt him. It was showing him what people were carrying on the inside, so he could help them on the outside. Ever since Levi was a kid, every time he fell asleep, he woke up.
Yo, thank you for the $2, Sahori.
Yo, what's up, bro?
What's up, bruh? Thank you for the 2. How you doing, bro? Thank you for the $2, Sahori. I think I remember you, Sahori. W Sahori with the $2, though. Thank you, bro. W. Alright, guys. I think I'm going to end stream now. Subscribe right now if you want to shout out. Well, okay. Subscribe if you want to shout out for the next stream. I'm going to shout out people on the next stream. But I do have to go, you guys. Alright, so I hope you guys, shout out to Levy, I hope you guys have a good day. I will be live tomorrow at around the same time, so make sure you guys join tomorrow's stream. This was a great stream. I'm thinking of posting my streams as videos on my channel. So, you know, if you miss one of my streams or you just want to watch it again, or you missed a part of my stream, then I might make a video out of it. Alright, so if you're interested in that, get ready because I might start doing that. Alright, but I'm going to go now. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Join tomorrow's live stream. I'll be live tomorrow at around the same time I went live today. Okay, so yeah. Thank you all for the gifts and donations, especially Henny. Thank you, Henny, for all the gifts, bro. Holy. But I'm going to go now, guys. Make sure you join tomorrow's live stream. And make sure you also subscribe so you get a shout out on tomorrow's live stream too. Alright? But thank you all for joining. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day or night. And I'm going to go now. Alright? And one more thing before I go. One more thing. Thank you for the $2, Sahori. Bye, bro. Alright, see ya, bro. Thank you for the 2. W Sahori with the $2. Thank you, Sahori. W. Bye, bro. Alright, see ya. Alright, look. Guys, if you go to my channel right here, you can join my Discord server. And in my Discord server, I announce when I'm live. So you will get a notification for when I go live. So you don't miss it. And another thing is that you can talk to me and chat with my fans. So make sure you join my Discord server if you guys have Discord. But I'm going to go now. Have a good day or night, you guys. And make sure you guys join tomorrow's live stream. Alright? I'll be live tomorrow at around the same time I went live today. Okay? Bye, chat. Thanks for joining. Alright? Peace, guys. Peace.